The exploitation of sportswomen and girls has been long tolerated within the sports industry. The recent death of Agnes Tirop has reminded us of the need for collaboration between relevant stakeholders to mitigate gender-based violence.
Allow me to ask everybody in this room to stand up for 1 minute of silence in respect for Agnes Tirop.
I think if you want to end this gender-based violence, you set up the camps. In our country, if I say the truth, there is no more than 5 camps. The real 5 camps, leave alone those people who are organizing the private accommodations, putting the ladies there and doing other things. Organize the camps, put the right values there, and people actually will adopt. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. She was one of us. She was a heroine amongst us. And her name is significant to all of us, but it's also synonymous with Kenya's greatness, Kenya's courage, and Kenya's bravery.
We have made strategic investments in our education system to keep our girls in school, as well as robust social economic policies and initiatives to increase women's control of their productive and financial assets. It is a call to action to protect our women and girls, to work together towards a safe and healthy community.
Scary when I get too loud, silence when I try speak out, suggestive when I choose to smile, sensitive when I choose to cry. They try to tell me, miss, you're in a mood. Correction, I am a mood. Oh, you been miseducated. This miss is amazing. You keep me saying get used to me. Make it up for me. Missy Queen Queen. Wanijua wanisikia manake mimi najijua. I was told I couldn't run, so now I fly. Told I shouldn't argue, but my spirit fights. Told I couldn't drive, now I'm flown. Told I'd never work again, look at all I've done. Told I should sit down, so I'll take my throne. Told people like me don't stand, now we're twice as tall. We work twice as hard to get half as far. You didn't make me great, was the other way around. They try to tell me, miss, you're in a mood. Correction, I am a mood. Oh, you been miseducated. This miss is amazing. You keep it
exploitation of sportswomen and girls has been long tolerated within the sports industry. The recent death of Agnes Tirop has reminded us of the need for collaboration between relevant stakeholders to mitigate gender-based violence.
Allow me to ask everybody in this room to stand up for 1 minute of silence in respect for Agnes Tirop.
I think if you want to end this gender-based violence, you set up the camps. In our country, if I say the truth, there is no more than 5 camps. The real 5 camps, leave alone those people who are organizing the private accommodations, putting the ladies there and doing other things. Organize the camps, put the right values there, and people actually will adopt. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
She was one of us. She was a heroine amongst us. And her name is significant to all of us, but it's also synonymous with Kenya's greatness, Kenya's courage, and Kenya's bravery.
We have made strategic investments in our education system to keep our girls in school, as well as robust social economic policies and initiatives to increase women's control of their productive and financial assets. It is a call to action to protect our women and girls, to work together towards a safe and healthy community.
Scary when I get too loud. Silence when I try speak out. Suggestive when I choose to smile. Sensitive when I choose to cry. They try to tell me, miss, you're in a mood. Correction, I am a mood. Oh, you've been miseducated. This miss is amazing. You keep hearing me say, get used to me. Make it room for me. Missy Pan Queen Queen. Wanijua, wanisikia, manake mi najijua. Yeah, yeah. I was told I couldn't run, so now I fly. Told I shouldn't argue, but my spirit fights. Told I couldn't drive, now I'm flown. Told I'd never work again, look at all I've done. Told I should sit down, so I'll take my throne. Told people like me don't stand, now we're twice as tall. We work twice as hard to get half as far. You didn't make me great, was the other way around. They try to tell me, miss, you're in a mood. Correction, I am a mood. Oh, you've been miseducated. This miss is amazing. You keep hearing me say, get used to me. Make it room for me. Missy Pan Queen Queen. Wanijua, wanisikia, manake mi najijua. Get used to me. Make it room for me. Missy Pan Queen Queen. Wanijua, wanisikia, manake mi najijua.
All right, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's a beautiful, beautiful morning. Good morning. In fact, that's a way, it's a form of greeting. Good morning. Karibu sana to the second day of Agnes Tirop conference. Can we all be upstanding for the national anthem of Kenya and East Africa community? Asante. Nisana, you may have your seats. Allow me to invite now Crystal Asige for the theme song of this conference. Karibu sana, Crystal Asige.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're doing well this morning. I have a very short story to tell that I didn't tell Dr. Amina Mohammed yesterday. I think she'd enjoy hearing it. I wasn't born blind, right? Many of you may not know my story, but I wasn't born blind. I actually developed an eye condition. It's called glaucoma. And glaucoma, when you get it when you're younger, of course, it has more time to take its effect. And it deteriorates your eyesight over a long period of time. So year on year on year, it just gets less and less and less, right? That's how, so I was born without this eye condition, but I attained and acquired it when I was in high school. High school, when I was very active in sports, swimming was my sport, fly specifically, butterfly, and basketball. Those are my two favorite sports at school. After that, I went to university in Bristol in the UK, where I continued with basketball. I was chosen for the first women's basketball team, on the first team. And though my eyesight was still deteriorating, eventually I had to quit sports because my eyesight came to a place that I couldn't see even someone passing me the ball. So I had to stop that. And instead I leaned more into my studies, which was theater and film in the UK. After that, in 2012, London happened. The Olympics happened in London in 2012. I was still there. So I was called to be on a delegation that was hosting Team Kenya in London. They came to Bristol. I remember taking them around the city, shopping and to have meals and to walk around the city. And every restaurant we went to, I had to be called into the kitchen to show the chefs how to make ugali. Because the team were like, sisi ni watu wa ugali, hatutaki hizi vitu zingine. So I had to always go to any restaurant kitchen and show the chef how to make ugali. So I was with Ezekiel Kemboy, David Rudisha, the Danford brothers back in 2012, and of course the Paralympic team when they came later with Henry Wanyoike and team. And that was a fantastic time. So tuko pamoja, tangu that time, I want to let you all know that sports is very close to my heart as well. So I'm honored to be here.
Scary when I get too loud, silence when I try speak out, suggestive when I choose to smile, sensitive when I choose to cry. They try to tell me, miss, you're in a mood. Correction, I am a mood. Oh, you've been miseducated. This miss is amazing. You keep hearing me say, get used to me. Get you for me. Missy Penguin Queen. Wanijua, wanisikia, maana Kevin najijua. Ke. Hands together. Told I couldn't run, now I fly. Told I shouldn't argue, but my spirit fights. Told I couldn't drive, now I'm flown. Told I'd never work again, look at all I've done. Told I should sit down, so I'll take my throne. Told women like me don't stand, but we're twice as tall. We work twice as hard to get half as far. You didn't make me great, was the other way around. Try to tell me, miss, you're in a mood. Correction, I am a mood, oh, hey. You've been miseducated, this miss is amazing. If you hear me say, get used to me. Hey, make it room for me. Missy Penguin Queen. Wanijua, wanisikia, maana kemi najijua. Get used to me. Make it room for me. Missy Penguin Queen. Oh, wanijua, wanisikia, maana kemi najijua. Hey, hey, hey. Nataka niwasikie. Kereke kereke. Kekeke. Tena. Kereke kereke. Endelea. Ha, kekeke. Kereke kereke. Come on, Rena, twende. Tan tan tan. Kekeke. Sisi wanawake tunajijua. Kereke kereke. We're saying no to GBV. Ha ha. Kekeke. No more silence. Kereke kereke. Protecting our women and girls. Ha. Kekeke. Kereke kereke. Used to me, make it room for me. Missy Penguin Queen, wanijua, wanisikia, manake minajijua.
Thank you so much. Many of you have asked me yesterday evening very kindly where you can find this song. I'll be releasing it very soon. Kindly follow me on YouTube for the release of that song. We want to launch it here today in honor of Agnes Tirop, of course. And so you can find me on social media, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of them, Spotify, iTunes. And please subscribe and follow and keep supporting. Yesterday someone said very eloquently, when someone says we need funding, funding doesn't always mean money. If you want to give me money, it's okay, you can invest. But funding also means every single person sitting in there, all of you are a fund. And if you just help an artist by subscribing and sharing and liking the music, it would really, really help me to push my independent career forward. No one is sponsoring me, so I would appreciate the support. Thank you.
Kereke kereke, kekeke, watu wa pwani, hey. Kereke kereke, kereke kereke, kekeke, wow wow. Kereke kereke, woo, kekeke, kereke kereke, kereke kereke.
Thank you.
Awesome. Let's appreciate Crystal Asige one more time. My goodness, what a story. Let's appreciate Crystal Asige one more time. And make sure you follow her on all our social media pages. There you go. My goodness, that's a story and a half. I hope you can share that story on Churchill Show one of these fine days. Sawa sawa. My goodness, those are the stories we want to hear. Now, before I invite our first moderator for today, I'd like to invite, at least we just do a recap of yesterday. Irene Limika, first World 3000 steeplechase, Arrows of Peace, Edna Ogendi, 100, 400 hurdles, Nelly Nasimiu, virtually impaired, 1,500 meters, and of course, legendary coach Joseph Cheromei, the guy who teaches all the marathon, coaches the marathon world record holders. Tafadhali, make your way here. We just get a recap of what happened yesterday. Karibu sana. Wale nimewataja mnaweza kuja hapa kwa stage. Irene Limika, Edna Ogendi, Nelly Nasimiu, and coach Joseph Cheromei. You know, it was very interesting yesterday. It's good to take some of these moments. So yesterday, I was having a chat with Eliud Kipchoge, Jana, just outside here after I did the presentation. And so there are these ladies, they are asking for a selfie. Now I'm here, boss, you should take a selfie with Eliud Kipchoge, not me. Eliud, can I have a selfie with you? So nikauliza Eliud, naweza pigwa picha na akaniambia, Churchill, niko na namba yangu. Uko na namba yangu Eliud Kipchoge. Bas, nimemaliza conference. Karibu sana. Great. I think wanataka nikae hapo juu ya mwangaza taa. So utaona mahali watanieka. Utamulika. Sana. Wache uone. So just a small recap. Juu ya jana vile ilikuwa, then of course I'll invite Mr. Jimmy Gathu. And thank you so much, Mrs. Rawal. Yeah. All right. So hapa tuongea Kiswahili, Kizungu, so we have someone nearby atakutranslatea so that we're on the same lane. Sawa. Ms. Rawal, I know umesema I do more Indian comedy. I'll try. But you know the reason why India has never been to the World Cup? Because every corner they get, they're open a shop now. Sawa, karibuni sana. Let's appreciate our athletes who are here in the building. Karibu sana. So kwa kifupi tu jana imekuaje? Tukianza na Irene Limika, jana tumejifunza aje? Nini ulipata na nini umejifunza sana hasa kwa hii conference ya Agnes Tirop?
Yeah, my name is Irene Limika, the former professional athlete in cross country, marathon. I was in World Championship 2009 and steeplechase, and right now I'm doing Arrows for Peace. So from what I've learned from Agnes Tirop conference is I should not keep quiet no more. And I've been waiting for such a time for a long time because I'm a survivor. Being the first to introduce or even to run the steeplechase, I would have done more to my country if not of the abuse and violence.
You didn't get that. Irene Limika alikuwa the first woman kufanya steeplechase before akina Ezekiel Komboi. So this is a legend right here. Na asante sana Irene Limika. You'll tell us about Arrows of Peace in a short while. Lakini Nelly, Edna Ogendi, umesoma nini? Hii conference vile tumekuwa nayo, what have you learned?
Personally, this is a chance I've never had in life. And I'm so grateful to Madam CS for this opportunity. It takes a strong woman to stand up for those who are not able to speak for themselves. Like Madam Catherine said, but the first Madam Julie Geshure, I look up to her. I remember her show back in Citizen when she used to hold the leadership forum. The way she could speak, I would see someday, I would sit there and be able to tell all we've been through as sports lady. Maybe tell the world, like we don't need to keep quiet. We have the power to go for it.
Wow, that's awesome. Asante sana Edda Ogendi, 100, 400 hurdles champion. And now Nelly Nasimiu, virtually impaired, 1,500 meters. Umejifunza nini conference nzuri sana tumekuwa nayo kuanzia jana?
Mimi naitwa Nelly Nasimiu, nakimbia 1,500 meters. Niko na bronze ya World Championship. Nimejifundisha kwamba mimi kama msichana mlemavu na wengine wasichana wengine hatufai kunyamaza tunapodhuriwa na wanaume, ama tunaweza kujisimamia kwa jambo lolote, bora tutie bidii kwa kila jambo tunalofanya. Na nashukuru Agnes kujitolea kwa mwanamke pale kama president, ametuchunga na kila wakati huwa anatusawishi. Naomba wasichana wote tutie bidii na tujisimamie katika maisha.
Asante sana Nelly Nasimiu. Na mwisho kabisa coaches, Joseph Cheromei. Coaches huyu ndio ana coach all the marathon world record holders. I was asking him, can you coach me and train me to be a marathoner? I want to win. Is it too late? He told me I need to stick to my comedy. I break records over there. Ni sawa. So there's no hope. There's no hope, coaches.
Masters.
Thank you. I know you are really good in talking, but when it comes to athletics, things changes. So
it's all right. It's all right. So let me stick to talking. All right. So coaches.
So
okay,
my name's
yes.
Joseph Cheromei. Currently, I'm an hero, being honored by the national president, and then again, I'm a national coach. And badly enough, I've been a coach for Agnes Tirop when she was still in primary until when she passed on. That is the small introduction. I've been an athlete for many years. I was based in Italy for 13 good years with Tercat, Bolt Tercat, which is ahead of me. And my mentors are Elizabeth Olava and Rosta Tamuya, and they are around. Maybe they can stand before I talk, say that, and okay, I can see Olava already, Rosta and Tercat. So what I learned yesterday, and I don't forget to say, I know 16 foreign languages. I can even speak French, Italian, and I can write as if I'm doing English.
Can you speak a bit of Italian?
Come stai? So you reply, bene.
Hey.
And then when you want to know what's your name, come ti chiami? Io se ateto sono Cheromei. So that is part of it. And French, ça va?
Ça va bien.
And then the Germany, guten Morgen. This Guten Morgen.
Guten Morgen.
So that's enough for me. So what?
You said 16.
Yeah.
You coach, you said 16. Those are 3, coach. We have time, coach. Those are 3, coach.
And then to start with, I don't coach people, I don't coach failures, I coach champions.
Oh yeah, champions, here we come.
So to go to yesterday, or the recap of yesterday, I learned that the first statement which I learned, if you are not if you don't negotiate in the table, you become part of the menu. That is what I learned yesterday, and it worked. Secondly, whatever you give a woman, it multiplies. And whatever you give a man, it might reduce to 0. And yesterday, Kipchoge said, as a recap, this country of ours or our community is rotten. And I agree with Kipchoge because everything starts with the community. And if the community doesn't bring up or as agile, it ends up being rotten. And then empowering a woman in community is making a society grow. So that is what I learned yesterday. When you empower a woman, you are empowering the society. And what again, the recap of yesterday, the GPP or gender-based violence, it starts in our homes. Because everything starts, even quarrel starts from our homes. And even the GPP, the children can see you and can take even 2 words and say, my mother, my father, they are doing like this, and it starts there. So you are not able to control because everything starts in our homes. And gender starts internally or externally. That is much which I can give as a recap of yesterday.
Really appreciate coaches. Joseph Cherome. He only coaches champions, and that's why I'm here and I'm ready. We can start tomorrow. So let's appreciate my panel for today. Irene Limika, Edna Ogendi, Nelly Nasimio, and of course our coaches. They'll be joining you in breakout session. Asanteni sana. Sasa hizo ndio wanasema nini. Awapigeni makofi. Asante sana. All right. Awesome. My goodness. And hey coaches, you did say what you say kwaheri in Italy. Aritumachu. Arrivederci. And in Germany? Germany, it has disappeared. I knew there was a problem, but it's all right. We'll fix it. 16 languages, you gave us 3 coaches. Still watching. Are you having an amazing time? Great. Now, welcome to the Agnes Tirop conference. Right about now, allow me to invite our first moderator for today. I know you all love him. My mentor, my brother, my goodness. Show your love for super MC and moderator, Jimmy Gadu. Karibu sana.
This mic is on. Is this mic on? Hello. Habari za asubuhi jamani. Okay, so kabla niwalike wale watu ambao tutakuwa nao katika panel session, kuna clip ilikuwa ichezwe jana ya Daktari Frank Njenga, which is about mental health. Okay? Sasa nataka ichezwe kwanza, muisikize and put a pin on it. Manake kuna namba ambaye tayari imetengenezwa na wizara fulani ambaye nitaicheza. We'll test and see whether it's working. Okay? But for now, if that clip is ready for Dr. Frank Njenga, just play it. Yozungumzia mambo ya mental health, yeah, and then from there we will tell you pale unaweza pata usaidizi katika nambari ya simu fulani ambayo tutaicheza katika discussion yetu. So is it ready? Here is Dr. Frank Njenga. Asante.
A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Frank Njenga, Presidential Advisor on Mental Health. And it's a major privilege for me to be with you this afternoon at this very, very important conference that will, in my view, change the way we do sports in this country. First like this. The first thing I would like to say is that Kenya is a truly sporting nation. Many of you would be unaware that from the beginning of time, we as Kenyans have excelled on the sports field. For example, a few people know that the first Olympic committee was formed way back in 1955 during the emergency. The second thing that people may not be aware is that we had athletics giants since before independence. For example, a gentleman called Serafino Antao won 2 races in Perth, in Australia, in 1962, in a race that was then called 100 yards, and the other one was a 200-yard race. Meters had not arrived in the Commonwealth. The first Olympic gold for Kenya, I think many of you already know, was in Tokyo back in '64 by a guy called Wilson Kurgat. Naftali Temu did us proud back in '68 at the Mexico Olympics. And some will remember the activities of our hit squad back in '88 in South Korea. So the truth is, this is not a new adventure for Kenyans. We are a truly sporting nation from before independence. And then, of course, now we have our giants, some of who I am aware are present with you this afternoon. And truly, sport in Kenya is a brand that helps us to earn foreign currency directly. Next slide, please. So the engagement between sports and medicine is historically through the standard physician engagement in sport. For example, there are doctors, physicians who look after the fitness and safety of sportsmen and sportswomen. They advise on improving performance, they advise on diet, they advise on what medication to take, they treat injured sports people, and many are involved in advice and monitoring of doping. And many doctors who enjoy sport engage in sports medicine almost as a hobby. Very few people are aware that there are psychological aspects to sport. Next slide, please. In this regard, there is actually a branch of psychiatry that is called sports psychiatry. Now, the reason this branch is so important and is growing so rapidly is because sports is a big industry, and anything that affects big industry attracts a great deal of attention. So there are now people who are specialized in sports psychiatry, and they look at and advise on ways and methods, for example, of improving performance impaired by performance anxiety. This is very common in golfers and tennis players. There are also, as I'll be demonstrating in a minute, special conditions such as anorexia nervosa that are very, very common indeed in sports people. And then, of course, we know that sports people are more likely to develop addiction and drug abuse. The case of Tiger Woods, for example, and his addictions is legendary. And then, of course, there is a well-known problem and challenges that are brought about by fame and fortune that come in the way of successful sports people. So sports psychiatrists have an interest in all this, but also crucially, there are serious issues around the return to competitive sport after injury, and sports psychiatrists are also called in to do this. The next slide, please. Now, you will be wondering, perhaps, why Kenya has not been active in the field of sports psychiatry. The truth is, back in the year 2007, in consultation with the athletics body in Kenya, we did a well-celebrated and acknowledged and published study in Kenya in collaboration with British runners under the title of Eating Disorders Among Female Elite Distance Runners. The study, which involved my traveling to very many parts of the country visiting girls who are in training, all of them elite distant runners, compared the mental status and the eating habits of Kenyan and British runners. What we found, and which was not followed up to my knowledge, was that 20% of the British runners had significant eating disorders, including anorexia nervosa. Kenyan girls did not demonstrate this particular condition. However, girls from both countries had above average incidence of menstrual problems. And as we know, this is an important subject because it can affect performance in different ways. Have we done any more studies amongst athletes in our country or sportsmen? I am not aware of the studies. That is not to say there are none, but this is to illustrate that back in 2007, there was consciousness in this field. Next slide, please. So what challenge is before us, we Kenyans, for whom sports is so important? The first one is to recognize that 48% of athletes in one study had signs of anxiety and depression. Now, this is a huge number. And whereas there is no suggestion that 48% of Kenyan athletes have that condition, I think this is an indicator of what might be going on. And truly, we don't know where we are as a country. Secondly, we know generally, the world over, that athletes have high levels of drug abuse, often the result of overtraining and burnout. The third thing is that mental stress is very common in all competitive sports because the sports person is always under much stress to win, either for fame or for fortune, sometimes both. And the truth about sports is that coming second is not good enough. Everybody in sports wants to be first. And of course, we know that not everybody can be first. The next thing is that the careers of athletes and sports people in general are short. And there is no forum that exists that discusses exit options. And exit can either be due because of age, because of injury, because of exhaustion, or some other. And it's not common for people in their peak to even contemplate the possibility that one day they will exit the field. And this has its own consequences later in life. As we say, for the athlete, you're required to plan for the future while you're literally running. And that becomes very difficult. And as we'll see in some of my recommendations, coaches and families ought to be made aware of the need to take into this consideration. Family obligations, the training schedules, the travel schedules, the demands of training, all play a role in making the life of an athlete somewhat difficult. And many are not able to hold discussions about these problems. And this perhaps is because there are in Kenya, to my knowledge, very few, if any, knowledgeable life skill coaches who have specialized in coaching sports people. And this, as I will be recommending, is an area that really is crying out for occupation. Next slide, please. So what can we do next? What must we do to close these gaps that we have identified? The first one is to recognize that sports and athletics in general is a national resource that we must guard very jealously. The second one is to acknowledge that we as a country have not done enough to safeguard this national resource. The next one is to acknowledge that we are not lame ducks. We as Kenyans are able to rise to challenges put our way with the greatest of ease. And I think once we recognize this is a challenge for us, I am confident that we can rise up to it. The next thing we must appreciate is that stigma and discrimination are very common challenges in sport, and education will help us deal with the stigma and discrimination in sports. It's also true that there is adequate scientific evidence to move us forward. If we take the time to make inquiry into the science, the mental science of sport, there is no shortage of well-published scientific material that will help us in the development of the tools that we have. And it's also possible to train athletes to improve access to mental health. A number of studies in Australia and the UK and the US prove that yes, indeed, if we train athletes, they are able to make themselves available for mental health training and clinical benefit. And finally, and this is very, 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 very important, it doesn't have to take months or weeks to train in mental health. Brief mental health literacy programs can make very, very, very dramatic changes. So the investment is very low and the benefits are very high. And this is part of the reason I was so excited to be invited today to do this presentation. And as we all know, not only is the government of Kenya interested in the mental health of sports people, it has a great interest in the mental health and welfare of all Kenyans. And this is something that we shall discuss another day. So what else over and above what I have said must we know? First of all, next slide please. Sorry, training of coaches on mental health of athletes improves outcome. So whatever you do, engage with whoever mental health specialist you like, and get coaches who spend a lot of time with the athletes. And when the coaches are trained, the benefit moves on to the athletes. The second thing is to be aware that mental health is critical to performance. And this again is something that mental health experts will help the athletic fraternity to appreciate and do something about. I've already said relatively simple and inexpensive interventions, such as simply advising on sleep hygiene. What is good sleep and how do you get it and when do you get it, have been shown to improve significantly the performance of athletes. So what I'm saying is that the psychological needs and requirements of athletes are critical to the success of athletics in our country. And then, of course, there are specific things like the development of policies, when and how people return to sport after injury. We can't do away with sports physicians because, I mean, physiotherapists, internal medicine experts, and so on. But we must find a way of making them aware that physical fitness is not enough, and that psychological fitness is clearly important. A number of recent studies have confirmed that internet-based programs also work, and therefore even remote-based training can be organized where appropriate. The last bullet point there talks about the circadian cycle, important in sport. That simply means that athletics management teams must know that sometimes if an athlete is required to perform when his body should be asleep. For example, if an athlete is required to run a few hours after arriving in Australia or America, that particular athlete will be affected negatively by the fact that the body is literally asleep and he's supposed to be running at the same time. Last slide, please. So what conclusions am I drawing with you this afternoon? The first one is to restate the obvious, that in Kenya, sportsmen and women are a national resource that must be guarded jealously by all that are concerned. Secondly, mental health plays an important role in the lives of athletes, and any person who does not look after the mental welfare of athletes really is not practicing modern methods. We are all aware of the many problems that face our athletes. I have stated them, all the way including family problems. We also have stated clearly that there is adequate knowledge in science that tells us what to do about the problem. And all we need to do is to go out there and look out for these interventions. Mental health education is key to the reduction of stigma and discrimination, not only in sports, but in our society in general. And I think this is recommended very highly. And finally, and crucially, there is no reason for us to wait until tomorrow. I think today is as good a day to start as any. The science shows us that timely and early interventions are critical to success in medicine in general, and that must also be the case for sports. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to thank you most sincerely for this invitation. I hope the points we have raised will turn out to be of some interest, and that they will enable the organizers of this landmark conference opportunity to improve the ways in which we relate to each other. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you, and I wish you a very successful conference. Thanks for the invitation.
Tumpigie makofi tafadhali. Dr. Frank Jenga, psychiatrist. Okay, so wacha niwaalike wageni wangu katika jukwaa. Wa kwanza Mr. Francis Mutuku, Secretary General National Olympic Committee, Kenya. Mutuku, are you here? Tumpigie bwana Mutuku makofi tafadhali. Karibu sana. Mrs. Agnes Olwach, President Kenya National Paralympic Committee. Makofi tafadhali. Miss Miriam Opondo, Deaflympics. Miriam Opondo. You will be on stage there, right? Well done. Utakuwa naye katika seat. Oh, my seat, sorry. Naomba msamaha, Agnes, sorry. There, hapo. So you can use that microphone. Thanks, okay. Oh, and lastly, Dr. Joan, is it John or Joan Mora, CEO Lotto Kenya? Joan? John? Is it John or Joan? Karibu. Karibu. Makofi kwa tafadhali. All right. Yeah. Kabla niendelee, kuna watu ambao sikuwataja jana. So let me do that very quickly. Katika Gender Welfare Committee, Ministry representatives, Chief Administrative Secretary, representative, of course, Honorable Mrs. J.B. Kilimo. Ameendelea kufanya mengi zaidi. She'll be joining us shortly. Representative of Attorney General, Jennifer Wajiro Nganga, are you here? Jennifer, are you here? Okay. From the Office of Interior, Representative Principal Secretary Kibisho, Nancy Morega. Nancy Morega. Representative of Directorate of Criminal Investigation, Mweni Mutisia. Mweni Gwabi? Mweni, maybe at the back there, okay. From the Presidential Unit, Sylvia Kwamboka. Parliamentary Team, Honorable Bishop Titus Hamala. Titus, good to see you. Wasalimia watu tafadhali. Simama wasalimia watu. This conference is very important. Mkutano huu una umuhimu, si ndio Bwana Hamala? That's why you're here. Barikiwa sana. Ministry of Energy Representative Phoebe Makungu. Phoebe kwa wapi? Phoebe, you see? Makofi for Phoebe. In fact, I'll tell you what I want to do. Okay. Secretary Administration, Ministry of Education, David Kipkemei. David, good to see you, David. David Kipkemei, who you are for? Representative, Principal Secretary, Curriculum Development, Ministry of Education, Stephen Magoba. Thank you, Zach. Magoba, Steve, Steve, good to see you. Makofi kwake. Mnamuona Steve, eh? Mnamuona yuko hapa mbele. Director General Immigration, Mr. Alex Moteshi. Aleki yuko wapi? Moteshi Alex? He's on his way, okay. From the Ministry of Tourism, Director of Tourism, Dr. Kezia Odembo. Kezia yuko hapa, Daktari? She just left. She's gone to the ladies, I hope. Good, well done. Deputy Director, Youth and Gender. Wairimo? Well done, there you are. There's a reason why I'm shouting your name, because I want us to have a very inclusive discussion. Manake wale watu ambaye umuhimu wa huu mkutano ni wanariadha wetu. I want us to have a discussion, not ati sijui kuna watu wanazungumza pale, alafu we throw the questions to you. I want us, if ukitaka kuinterrupt if somebody is saying something, amba unaona pana wewe hapo huku represent vizuri. Ino tu mkono utaleta microphone na utajibu. I want us to have a conversation. Leo, sawa. Let me keep going. Office of Director of Public Prosecution, Jacinta Nyamosi. I saw you yesterday, Jacinta. Wapi Jacinta? Jacinta. Lilian Obuo. Na Natasha El Kathiri. And then from Ministry of Health, Caro Karemi. Caro. Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Anwar Johi. And Ambassador Ingrid. Oh, Ingrid, I mentioned her name. Ingrid, are you still here? Yes. There you are. Okay. Also from Chief Administrative Secretary, Ministry of Sports, Mr. Honorable Governor Simon Kachapin. Simama usalimia watu. You see how important this conference is. Okay? So, kama vile nimesema hapo awali, and that's why nataka tuzungumze. Kama hauwezi zungumza Kizungu, usijali. Kama hauwezi fafanua mambo na Kizungu, usijali. Zungumza Kiswahili. Na si lazima iwe Swahili kama ile ya Swahili Mdoe. Swahili hii ya kawaida tu ya Nairobi, urban speak. Kama unaweza Swahili Mdoe ni sawa. Kama huwezi, if you want to speak in English, fine. Kama unataka kuzungumza Kiswahili, sawa. Manake umuhimu wa hii conference ni nyinyi, or rather sisi wote athletes, nyinyi wanariadha mnatusaidia sisi. Manake pia sisi kuna mambo ambayo hatuwezi zungumza, hatungeweza kuzungumza until this conference started. Mwanielewa? Kwa hivyo tutazungumza hapa. Ukitaka kuinterrupt, inua tu mkono. Wale ambao wananisaidia watakuja na microphone na kupatia uzungumze. If you want to speak in English, do so. If you can't understand what I'm saying in Swahili, please ask. And I will say it in Swahili. I'll try to say it in English. Kama hauelewi Kizungu, mimi nitazungumza Kiswahili. Tumeelewana? Na tena sisi Kiswahili ya Mombasa. Kama ni ya Mombasa sawa, okay? All right, let's get into the thick of it. So, equalizing the space. Because it's said that there has been attempts. Kuna ile kujaribu ya kwamba wanariadha wote wawe katika, the equal space, equal opportunities, equal treatment. So I want to throw this first to you Bwana Mutuku. We've tried this before. Na imefanya. Hebu tueleze, and especially if you look at Olympics, the Tokyo, the 2020. You tried this equalization process and it worked, or did it not? Let's start with you.
Thank you and good morning
na
everyone.
Pia Mutuku unazungumza Kiswahili ukitaka.
Ndio
watu waweze kuelewa.
Tutachanganya zote. Thank you first is to, because I'm speaking on behalf of the National Olympic Committee, is to say we have very quickly looked at the report, just to let our great Catherine, and we've picked page 62 to page 64, and we've looked at the recommendations, and for us we feel they are very low-hanging fruits, and we promise that's something we can start doing immediately.
Okay. Hold on.
Giving you a background of Tokyo 2020, and maybe to start in 2008 Beijing Games, we had 8 women athletes participating. Then after that we went to London in 2012, and where we had 20 women participating. There was a shoot in Rio where we had 42 women participating.
Wow.
And more recently, in Tokyo last year, we had 48 women participating. That gave us 55% of women. Just taking a comparison with what Madam CS gave in terms of the women's sports participation in the Olympics, way back since 1896 all the way, we must say between 2008 to 2022, we've had a 166% participation increase in women's sport. And in terms of that, then I think men need to raise their standards in terms of Olympics. This year we'll be having Commonwealth Games. I do not have the statistics on top of my fingers in terms of participation in Commonwealth Games, but just to give you an indication of where we are, the women are already off the block. Why? Because last year we had the netball team go for the qualifiers in Namibia and South Africa. That's a women's team. Right now as we speak, we have the women's cricket team participating, and therefore we must say athletes have done very well in terms of increasing. Where we have an ongoing challenge, and that's something we must address, and that's why we agree with the recommendations, is the management. In terms of coaches, in terms of the team managers. I know even during these conferences, we've had a lot of offline conversations with a number of leaders, and that is being highlighted, that is being pushed, that in terms of team managers, in terms of coaches, in terms of the team support program, we are still not doing very well. We still have a women's team coached by a man, a team manager is a man, and every other, even a physiotherapist is a man. So in terms of that area, that is something I think is being brought out very strongly, and I'm hoping this conference.
But there's some things you did deliberately. Kuna vitu ambazo ulifanya mkasema these are things, aspects of management that lazima tuiweke manani for success.
Yes.
Hebu highlight hizo ambazo mulifanya kimakusudi kwa sababu these ones must be done, no questions about it, and the benefits of those. Alafu umesema kwamba there are some weaknesses. I need you to highlight those specific ones. Those is to elicit reactions in terms of, are these what you think are the issues? Ama wengine wasema pana, hapo umepotea, kuna zingine deeper than that. Let's be open.
True.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yes. Let me start with the weakness. I think it's easier to talk to weakness and finish. Weakness is women's team and what we call the athletes entourage. That is the coach, the manager, and everybody being men. I think that's probably one of the biggest weaknesses. Okay. From where I stand, we need to completely change that. Secondly, it's and I think I'll be speaking that slightly more in terms of teams funding. If you look at the team's funding, a lot of men's team are given more. A very quick example is if you look at the Shujaa, amount of money put behind the Shujaa compared to the Kenya Lionesses, there's disparity. When you look at Harambee Stars compared to Harambee Starlets, there's a lot of disparity in terms of funding. Those are some of the weaknesses I think we can pick and start working towards. What are the deliberate efforts which are being done at the moment? The first one is last year, when we were at the Tokyo, we decided there were some positions which, not based on tokenism, but based on radical change we could give, and we said the chief executive officer of the Tokyo Games would be a woman. We also said because federations could not give us a lot of women in terms of their least entourage, we provided the technical support to be predominantly women. We are the chief medical officer being a woman, we are the psychosocial psychiatrist being a woman, we are the nutritionist being a woman, the sports science specialist was a woman. That was to be able to support the technical people the federations had provided. So those are some of the things we are doing forward. What does it mean now that we are going towards Commonwealth? We've already written to all our federations that for all nominations of team managers, team management, there must be a 60-40 gender ratio as one step to start and level the ground.
Absolutely. I want Miriam of Deaf Olympics to respond. Miriam, your thoughts?
Thank you so much. My thoughts are that when we look at Deaf Olympics, this is from the perspectives of Deaf Olympics. Many people have a misunderstanding that there is no difference between Deaf Olympics and Paralympics, because deaf sports are assumed that they are under Paralympics, which has brought a lot of challenges to the deaf sports. Why? Because when it comes to funding, many people have focused mostly to the Paralympics and not to the Deaf Olympics.
Okay.
So for the deaf sports, it's very important for us to understand that there's that difference. That of the Olympics, we have Paralympics and Deaf Olympics. And even the IOC has recognized both international sports as separate and different, uniquely different between the Paralympics and the Deaf Olympics, and they need to organize their own sports at the international level. So when it comes to participation for the deaf athletes in the Deaf Olympics, we have challenges as well, where we see that most participants are the male athletes than the women athletes. And also when you look at the management, the officials and the leaders, they're led by the males. Even all the top positions of the officials, the coaches, are men. And the deaf women shy off to join these leadership positions in sports, which we have recognized as a challenge. And then, for example, if we have two sports that are both male and women who need to represent us as a country nationally, they'll be given who will be given the priority is the male team, then the women team. Or if we need to reduce the number of the team, maybe from the government we'll see that no, we need to reduce these team members. They'll focus more on the women, saying that no, please, I don't think they're adding real value. You know, let us reduce these team members from the women's team, and the males will go as they are. So this is a challenge, and that's what I can say from our side.
Joanne, I know you're itchy to say something, and I'm more inclined towards the aspects of how funding then can help reduce certain aspects of gender-based violence, if I can call it that. I'm not so sure. You will help in terms of what your thoughts are. Because I don't know if the issue really is it the aspect that it's men who are managing? Or is it the fact that men then are prone to abuse their position? I think we need to be clear. So some coach hafai kufunza akina mama. Yet we've seen coaches who've made women champions. So where balance inatoka hapi?
I think the biggest challenge that we have is communication. Because if you look at how many people knew that those two were separate things, you know, Paralympics and Deaf.
And Deaf Olympics, yes.
So if I'm from a funding perspective, if I get two proposals, I'll sit and wonder, you know, which is which.
Yeah.
And what communication is done. Look at the media, how skewed it is, even in covering women in sports. For you to be marketable, it means I have to see you. Yeah. We already know Eliud is going for 2024 now. He's going for the Paris Olympics. That's already being packaged. It's already being sponsored. People are working towards that. But if you look at the marathon side for women, that has a strong team, as in a younger team, that we should actually be building up. There's no communication about it. We have Paris, we have Viola, we have how many women are doing well in marathon. But we don't even know whether they're going for 2024. But Eliud, we already know, it's packaged, sponsors are already in. But here we are with a better team in the women's side that no one has stepped in.
About it, yes.
So it's how we package information. Do media tend to lean more on the men's side? And at the end of the day, if I'm looking at it in terms of funding, I'm looking at who is going to give me more publicity, who's going to give me more visibility, how much will I make in terms of people associating this person with my brand. So long as communication is skewed towards men, funding and brands will always tend to go more, to lean more towards the men. And that is something that we need to change. It's affecting even the prize competition. How much will we put in? The men and women are paid differently.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, it goes back to funding. Do men get more funding? Absolutely. But it's because it's how it's packaged. How are they being sold? And I think that's one of the challenges that we need to come up and bridge the gap where there are challenges. Deaf Olympics, they actually did very well. It was held locally. It was in Kenya, right? And how many people knew even to make...
That it happened.
That it happened. How many people knew that they need to attend? Yet it is something that's happening locally. Was it televised? Was it, how much publicity was it given vis-a-vis other events?
Mutuku, I'm sure I need you to come and respond to that in terms of then how do you put those together? What gets more visibility, and is it deliberate? If that's a weakness. But I need Agnes to speak. Agnes, maoni yako tafadhali.
Okay, maybe I'd look at it as much as it is a disability sport. That's why people tend to think that Deaf Olympics and Paralympics are one, of which they are not. Now, like the event that they had locally was a football. I think it was a football event. It was not an Olympic or Deaf Olympics, because this year is the year that they're going to have their Deaf Olympics.
Correct.
And then maybe to talk about...
Correct.
So what we had was the Africa Deaf Games, Ball Games qualifiers. So we were looking at the countries that will qualify, which will qualify to represent the African continent, and the sports were basketball and football. So they will represent us, will represent us this year in Deaf Olympics. And in Kenya, we also qualified to represent the African continent in Deaf Olympics, meaning that this event was a qualification game.
Okay. Well done. Agnes?
Okay, now maybe for Paralympics, as a lady president, I've really tried to bring more ladies on the table, because when I was elected, we actually made sure that we had 6 ladies on the board and 7 men. So we've really tried on the side of ladies. And also when it comes to events with the ladies, I think they are coming up and they are doing well. Like in Japan, we had 4 ladies who had qualified, because you normally know for Paralympic it's actually a challenge. We normally go out for qualifications, whereby you have to go, and the more events you go is the more points you gain in order to participate for the Paralympic Games. Now we had 4 ladies qualifying for Paralympic Games and 5 men. So I think for ladies we are really trying, and they are coming up. Very soon Paralympics will be ladies. And if you can imagine, in an event like powerlifting, we had a lady who had qualified for it. So I think we are also doing good in that, and very soon we are going to get there. And even for coaches, we normally have good coaches who are ladies, and they come up and they push for position. They normally want to be on the table. They don't want to be on the menu, as we were told yesterday.
So kuna swali nataka sana mnisaidie, especially nyinyi wanariadha, manake nyinyi ndio mnaelewa. Juu ina ndio the proverbial elephant in the room. Juu lazima tuiseme vile nafaa kusemwa. Issue ni gani kabisa? Is it the fact that wale wanaume ambao wamepatiwa zile viti za ku manage, ku train, ku nurture, kuwakuza wale wanariadha wapya, hao ndio ambao hawana utu? Get what I'm saying? I mean, is it the solution kuwatoa na kupatia kina wanawake? Will that solve the problem? Or do we have to have, like you said, Jana Targat, stricter measures, punitive measures ambazo mtu akijaribu kitu kama hii wanajua hautatoroka? If you're going to abuse your position as coach, as a man, utaenda jela for many years. Is that the solution? Or do we say, remove these men because they're incapable of holding high moral standards? No man can. Is that what you were saying? That's the elephant in the room, in my view. But I need to understand, I need Joanne. I didn't introduce her properly. So Joanne is the CEO of Lotto. I need you to tell us about Lotto and the history behind Lotto, what it has done for sports in Kenya. And then, so you do realize, Joanne, that even you singularly can completely transform this. Unasema, okay, sasa kama nyinyi hampati publicity, akina mama, atuwapati pesa.
Okay.
Media kama hampati Deaf Olympics publicity, media, we're not sponsoring. We're not putting money in your TV stations. Nafutwa kazi leo. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah, so Lotto, history, brief, sports, then can you single-handedly resolve this as a corporate?
We can see. So Lotto has been in Kenya for the past 7 years. So Lotto is a branch of Lotto in the UK. So basically we do raise funds for good causes. So far in Kenya we've done around 800 million. So our focus is mainly sports health, education, and community development projects. So if you've played Lotto, a percentage of your ticket goes back to the community.
Right.
So one of the key aspects that we focus on, especially for sports, is athletics.
Right.
So we have been working with Athletics Kenya. We have worked with NOC. We started with sponsoring the 2016 team that went to the Olympics.
Right.
So we've done the journey with athletics for the last 7 years. This will be our 7th. On Saturday, we're having our 7th national cross country, and we're still also going to be part of the World Cross Country Tour that is coming up. So in terms of what we can do for sports, I think our focus has been mainly grassroots to national level. How can we grow this? Because we do have a pool of talent.
So I want to be specific, Joanne.
Mm-hmm.
So what, because you're representing corporate.
Yeah.
So can corporate have a strong hand in ending or beginning to end gender-based violence in sports?
Yes,
as
we
a
can.
corporate. So,
Yes.
so what can you do?
So what we do, anyone who knows me knows I tend to be a bit biased towards women, so they say, because they say I tend to work more with women, I tend to hire more women. So it goes on the other side.
Yeah.
But what we can do is make sure that women are profiled and make sure that the same way we package the men is the same way we package the women. And make sure that's where it starts. As a corporate, that the athlete is a corporate entity by themselves. They can sell shoes, they can sell merchandise, they can actually represent brands. And we move away from the narrative that, you know, this is an athlete as a woman. I think I was talking to someone yesterday and I said, the focus for Faith Kipyegon, she's an Olympic champion, she retained her title, broke the world record, the Olympic record in Tokyo. But the focus for the media was that she was a mother. Who, you know, it was like out of all, you know, she had come back from motherhood and won, and you know, and retained her title. And I was thinking, Faith is so much more than that. Faith transitioned
She's a world champion.
From 13. She's been running from the time she was in school. So she has gone, transitioned, done 800, moved, you know, progressively to a place that she has earned a title to be nominated as World Athletics Female Athlete of the Year. But what do we focus on? The story was Faith has come back from motherhood. She has, that is not, the story of Faith is bigger than her coming back, that she gave birth and came back. We're not looking at women are the easiest athletes to transition from junior to senior. We're doing better where women are concerned more than men. So why aren't we focusing on that instead of us looking at, this is, she's given birth, she's come back.
The bigger story.
There's a bigger story package.
I know you want to say something from the flesh. Yes, and I'll come to you.
I agree with that. Statistically, our women have done better in terms of sports.
But
if I give an example, just look at we look at volleyball. Malkia strikers have done very well.
Yes.
In Kenya hockey, the ladies team did pretty well. If you look at starlets, Harambee Starlets, in terms of the dollar to performance, how much money has been put behind the team and what the team has brought, you'll see that the starlets have done. Recently, Vihiga Queens have done very, very well. Again, looking at how much money has been put behind them, you find that with the limited, very, very limited money put behind women's team, their performance has been very good. And I think we have quite a number of coaches and technical experts seated here. And we know as a strategic move going forward, whether in Africa or in the world, if we invest in the women's teams, we are likely to move further. The chances of them qualifying are much more, not easier, but much more better in Africa and in the world. The chances of them gaining good ranking points, that would be good. So I believe one of the things which we need to change, all of us, is the funding. And when I talk all of us, let me also say what we are doing as the National Olympic Committee. Going towards Tokyo 2020, we said the teams we are going to give the team grants will not be men's team. We chose the ladies team. So we chose Malkia Strikers and we chose the Kenya Lionesses. That's the rugby women's team. And they have done very, very well. They showed or they rewarded that confidence by both of them qualifying. Going forward, it will be the same approach. That to Paris 2024, the teams will be putting forward for grants will be women teams. Right now, again, and it's all the world over, there are more opportunities, there are more funding needs, and therefore more opportunities for women.
Right.
So as we go towards Paris 2024, there are more scholarship opportunities for lady athletes. In fact, most of the federation officials will know that last week we just told them to send us more proposals for women athletes to get scholarships towards Paris 2024. It means the more women we have, the more opportunities. And that's good because the world, especially the IOC, through their program, which they call program of 2020+5, where the president of IOC, is pushing the agenda for women greatly. And therefore, they are saying every time you put a proposal forward where you are showing that you are developing women, then the funding becomes more or the opportunities become more. So that's something we need to take advantage of.
Miriam? Before you say something, Miriam, you Agnes? Yes. Then Miriam, yeah.
Okay, I also want to say and congratulate Registrar. When she got to office, she actually made sure that that clause of 30% women to be included in the boards and federations must be there. But right now, it is there in the Constitution, whereby if registrar can stamp authority and make sure that if you do not have the 30% representation of women, then
the election is
the elections are nullified. I think that one will also bring more women on the table.
Joanne, you have a lot of work to do because, and I was going to ask Bonamutuku, because obviously there are some aspects of Ministry of Sports, Culture and Heritage objectives and directives that have been pushed by the ministry specifically. Do this, otherwise, just like the minister, the cabinet secretary Lisema, kama mfanye hii basi funding zetu in some aspects tutatoa. So maybe you can tell us what those bits of the ministry's objectives were and how they helped. And even ukiangalia mbele kama zitasaidia zaidi if they were implemented further. But I need Miriam to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to add to something what Joanne has said, because when you look at the media aspect, they focus on, you know, like what she said, what your attributes are, that you're a mother, and etc. So when you look at deaf sports, truly to tell you the truth, we're not visible in the media because, you know, you never know somebody is deaf until you meet them.
True.
At Paralympics, it's easy to see their disabilities. So media always focus on, if it's a disability, on what's more visible, because deafness is a hidden disability. You cannot tell. So in Deaf Olympics, we have the deaf people, when they travel to represent our nation, the media gives us a blackout, a very nice one. So we go to Deaf Olympics, nobody knows what we won there. We bring home medals, nobody knows when we went, when we came back. When we come back, the same, like Jesus. You know, Jesus said in the Bible, he says what? He'll come as a thief. That's the same way as deaf athletes we feel. So you see, because we have no visibility in media. People don't know about our athletes bringing home the medals. So I think if the media can change that narrative, it will be good. So media out here, please, give the deaf sports visibility as well. Because if not, Lotto, please, do not fund them. Do not put your advertisements there.
Joanne is enjoying this salad. So, by the way, nimesema hii ni discussion. It's a conversation. If you want to ask a question, inua tu mkono tafadhali. Yes, microphone italetwa. If you want to say something, please, microphone. Ukinyo niwe? Mike. I can't see. Wait, Mike niwe? Yes, it is Mike. Okay.
Ni mimi Jimmy.
Sema Mike. Media tunachapa, unasikia vile tunachapwa?
Zile fimbo zinatoka hapa my friend.
Si mchezo.
Tangu jana by the way. Kiboko baada nyingine.
Joanna atafanya tufutwe kazi.
I've just been listening to the conversation, and one of the things that I want especially Joanne to tell me, because we've worked with her before as SJAC, and she knows in SJAC, the executive, we are 9, 4 women, 5 men. So I want to know what parameters are these that we are not giving women adequate coverage. That's number one. Number two, when we say we are not providing coverage, there's a difference between kujipanga na kungoja kupangwa. All right? And what do I mean by that? Very few federations, and Jimmy, you can ask here, how many federations have got a physical office? Number one. Physical office. Forget about a media wing. Just a physical office. Office.
Okay.
Wangapi wako na ofisi hapa? All right? Ask the second question. How many have got PROs or media managers in those federations? Ni wangapi? All right? Now I come to my third point. When you say we don't give adequate coverage, we really struggle to balance between what sport to put on air and what sport not to put on air, and so on. When you send me your activities that this weekend we've got matches being played, and you send me this release at 8 p.m. in the night, we do our dockets by 3 in the afternoon, previous day. There is no way I'm going to include that story. Federations have become clever. All right? There are those who are clever. FKF, before Vurugwe, wajingize kwa tabu, walikuwa wanajua. They have their media wing. NOC have their media wing where they supply you with the footage, ujipange. Small press release, this is the footage, interviews, cutaways, photos, endelea. So, me I know women to be very aggressive and they follow. Wewe uliona ile panel ilikuwa hapo jana. Moto kama pasi. So, that same aggression. Why can't you use that same aggression and tell me, Okinyi, niko na hii footage, niko na hizi results, what time should I send them? By X number of time. We have newsrooms that don't operate like, we are not that much resourceful. It's one camera that is dedicated to sports in a day. So if there are 3 events going on at the same time, tutangalia gani na uzito. All right? So that is where we have to have the conversation. Federations mujipange. Wacha kulia, we don't give women enough coverage. Wajipange wenyewe. Give us what we need, whether it's information, whether it's your physical address where you are, and we move on. And Jimmy, please ask them, how many are physical offices? Wainue mkono, tuone.
How many are physical offices? Jimmy. How many are physical offices?
Media need to be paid.
Who needs to be paid? Any other question before Joanne responds? Who has a question to ask?
Jimmy.
Who has a question? Huh? Oh, there you are. Okay.
For me, it's not a question. It's a
a
follow-up
comment.
to. For
Okay.
me, it's not a question. It's a follow-up of what Mike has said. And Mike has raised a very important question. We do not have federations. We have briefcase federations.
Woo!
Federations that are run from briefcases. And honestly speaking, if you want to put up systems, how do you put up systems with federations that are run in briefcases? That is number one, Jimmy. Two, we're talking about funding. We're talking about sponsorship. We're talking about all these things. But truly, have these federations put their systems in order for them to be funded? So even most of the time when we talk about funding, who does this funding go to?
Ooh.
Does it go to the briefcase federations?
Ooh. Or to the athletes themselves?
Or to the athletes themselves. Secondly, where the failure has started is the constitution of the federations. And I'm going to repeatedly say this, because as much as we're talking about the sports registrar and being affiliated to the international federations, our constitutions are where the loopholes are for these guys to play their mischief. We don't have the Sexual Act, the Sexual Offences Act in any constitution apart from the Kenya Swimming Federation Constitution, which I sat in. We don't have the Children's Act. We don't have the Procurement Act. We don't even have Chapter 6 of the National Constitution, which calls for accountability and transparency. So when we talk about briefcase federations, one of the reasons we are seeing system failures, it starts from there. They know their own federation constitution gives them the right to manipulate the system.
Okay, got it. Could you pass the mic to tell us your name, if you represent a sporting institution, say so. Alafu na swali yako ma comment, tafadhali.
Thank you. My name is June Wawero from Kenya Golf, and I'm proud to say we have a physical office. But I just want to say, now that we have the chair of National Olympics Committee here, Dr. Paul Tergat, and no offense, can we have NOC provide all affiliated federations with at least a desk, if not a room?
A desk.
Let's have some of the money that this NOC has put into federations. Let them provide us with a room or a desk. We can share. One room can have two federations. But at least let them do something for us so that we stop having briefcase federations.
We start from there.
Yes, we start from there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Another question. You're writing this down, Banamutuku. You're writing this down. Uyo bingo. Mpati uyo bingo. Paul Tergat will sign there. Paul Tergat will contribute to it.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Charles Nyaberi. I'm the Deputy President, Kenya Volleyball Federation, and Treasurer, Kenya National Sports Council. I just quickly want to point out on two things. It's very good that Agnes brought out the 30% rule.
Right.
But we have to be careful. 30%. It's not just numbers of ladies that we want in the executive. We want prominent, real, effective positions where the ladies will have a voice. What happens is that people take the easy way out. Elections, I've been in these things for many, many years, yes, many decades. An election is taken, then the federation realizes they have not met the 30%. So what do? They co-opt minimal kind of very, very, very junior positions,
so
where they don't have a position. That is one of them. Two, the engendering. That's what we're actually here for. We want to make sure that our sports are engendered.
Equal level.
Are we going to make them just for the sake of the world to feel that we have engendered them? The participation is there. Right now, like the Secretary General of NOC has told us, the women are excelling up to the tops. In fact, there were more women qualifiers for the last Olympics than men.
Yes.
But let's do this. We are not only going to increase the participation of women, we are also going to increase the voice of women in running these sports. So the engendering has to be proportionate. both at participation and also at the administrative and the technical sides. Now we have a problem. There is a gap. Rwanda did it in 1 year. A presidential directive was given and it was achieved. In fact, right now, Rwanda have 53% women in leadership in all phases. The best thing is we have a resource that is waiting. Our stars, like Elizabeth Olaba, Catherine Mabi, if I can name from my sports which I come from, when they are retiring, nobody bothers to transit them into positions of leadership and technical bits. These are very informed. If they could be world champions, what makes you think they cannot make world champions? Thank you.
I'll take 2 more questions, then we go back to our panelists because they have a lot to answer. And I'm going to include Taragat and the great Tirop also because they want to say something. Kama kuna swali tafadhali, nimesema hii si panel discussion peke yake. Tuwazungumza sisi wote kama jamii moja. Ukitaka kuinterrupt, do so. Because I'm a media person, I have no clue really about the intricacies of sports. Lakini nyinyi bingwa wetu mko hapa. So 2 more questions alafu tupatie panelists. Is there a mic here?
Thank you. This is Edna speaking.
Oh, okay, hold on. Nani azungumza? Just stand up. Oh, your name? 1 minute, eh?
This is
After
Edna.
her, then yeah. Your name, unacheza uko katika discipline gani alafu? Swali.
This is Edna, an athlete. I'm speaking on behalf of athletes.
Edna,
who are
nataka
not able to
uzungumza na
speak.
Kiswahili. Usiogope. Zungumza tu vile unaweza. Changanya yote.
My question goes like this.
Okay, you want to speak in English?
First,
all right, okay. Sawa, twende. Uliza. Ask.
My question goes like this. In the accessing the stadiums, there is a fee we always pay, 200. We pay to the Sport Kenya. I'm lucky.
Sorry, say that again. You pay what?
We pay a fee to access the national stadium.
As a person, as an individual?
As an individual, we pay 200 to access the stadium to train.
What?
200 shillings per head, per session. That's the session you go to the stadium. So imagine, I'm lucky I'm employed. Imagine that someone, even having 2 meals a day is a problem, and that person is supposed to train. This person maybe didn't have food because he or she didn't have the money. He or she is keeping this money to come pay the stadium in order to train. Sometimes it's like we put on priorities first.
In order to make Kenya great.
In order to make our country shine. Second, there is this issue you were saying about coaches. Not every coach is a corridor coach. We have coaches here who have made people champions, and we have forgotten them. We have brought them into that. We have brought them into that gap of the corridor coaches. Like, I can speak of Madam proudly. She's the person I look up to, Rose, the hurdler. I specifically did that just because watching at her gives me an effort to want to be like her. But now she has not that chance to give us what she learned, because she has not been given the chance to stand up there to talk to us.
Nakupata.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you
Final
so much.
before we get the panelists, I'll come back to you, Coach. Yes.
Thank you very much. My name is Lumalas Yunis. I'm an advocate, and I have some questions. The first is with respect to infrastructure and facilities.
The desks and offices and all.
Sorry?
The desks and offices.
Yes,
okay.
but I'm informed. I don't know if it's true. You can confirm that this women leagues, most of the competitions, just not national, but probably local heats, are not often given either Nyayo or Kasarani, our only premium stadia, but they are taken to, there's a name I was given somewhere in Jericho, Toyoyo. I'm going to visit so that I can see the place by myself.
Toyoyo?
It's a play you do not know as well?
I don't know Toyoyo.
It's called Camp Toyoyo in Jericho. So that women games are taken to Camp Toyoyo. So we'll visit with you, Jimmy, in Jericho. but most of the main local premier games are taken to Nyayo and Kasarani. You will confirm that, ladies. Then number 2, I'm told the status of our stadia are embarrassing. It's very sad to have a country like Rwanda come out and put up, top facilities for games like basketball, and we are not doing that because we prefer to travel out because of per diem and not develop our own infrastructure. I think this is something to look up to because I'm told the first few minutes when we go to a new high-tech stadia is probably we lose because of the facilities. We are not used to the wooden floors and whatnot. Please confirm that. I'm also going to finally question or just support the federations. You do not need to have the Sexual Offences Act or provisions that are already in other acts in your constitution. But I think from the legal subcommittee yesterday, we confirmed that we are willing to work with you to review your constitutions and perhaps come up with sexual harassment and abuse policies that will be relevant and practical for your needs. But you do not need to restate what is already there in the current law. Thank you very much.
Ukwe, Mike, Mike, umenipiga warning. Ama hiyo ni mimi nawe kando?
No, I just want to respond to Wakili.
Okay.
Finally.
Oh, Wakili.
Finally.
Wakili.
There's the issue of the journalist seated next to me
who
said that journalists, you need to step up. Please confirm, and this is a question, whether indeed you have sent out invites to journalists and relevant information, and they did not cover you. Because I work with journalists, and sometimes we know you always have to have a budget for the Kenyan media. You have to have a budget for them to cover your news and things like that. Please confirm.
Wakili, idea.
Wakili, this is what I will tell you, and I tell everybody else. Mutuku will confirm for me. And
okay,
I've always said, let me speak for Citizen TV. I'm the sports editor at Citizen TV. And this is what I will say. If any journalist asks you for money for coverage, just report to us as the Sports Journalists Association of Kenya, and we take action. That is number 1. Number 2, this brown envelope culture, it's you federations who started it. Because you sit there, you want your team or you want your particular player to be covered. So what do? Unafinyia cameraman thao moja kwa mfuko in your lunch. All right? So what do? They focus on that person. What do you think you're doing to the rest of the team? You've practically killed the rest of the team because it will always be Mutuku in the paper, Mutuku on TV, Mutuku everywhere. And we know what happens. We know the notorious federations. We can name them if we are challenged to do it. All right? So, your brown envelopes, wachaneni nazo. If you want your event to be covered, just do a proper press release. We've got this event on this day from this time to this time. These are the teams that will be there, and you are invited to cover. That's it. Don't send it to me at 9 o'clock in the night. Your event is starting at 8 in the morning the next day. Then you say, atujapatiwa coverage.
What's Kamtoyo?
Now, Kamtoyo, I'll come to that Kamtoyo thing. We are complaining that unajua mali mfuko yako imefika Jimmy. Yeah. Mimi hizo zara umevaa siwezani nazo. Lakini naweza vaa bata. True or false? It's the truth. So, if I am the home team and I don't have a home ground, I will hire a ground that mfuko yangu inaweza. So I'll go to Nyayo, I'll be told for you to have a game here, lipa 18,000. Useme, 18 sina. Mimi niko na 1000 ngapi? 3000. Where will my 3,000 take me? Toyoyo, Steamer Club, Ruaraka. That is where it will take you. You want to play at Kasarani? Pay top dollar. It's as simple as that. There is nothing like discrimination. Wewe umejidiscriminate na mfuko. Look for that money, pay that venue that you want. Yeah? We cannot sacrifice people na tunawapiga viboko hapa because hawezi jitetea and yet we have not done our research to know why these things are happening.
There you are.
We are being twisted.
Thank you.
By some of these people telling you, this one is not being done, this one is not being done. I hear this all the time. Oh, journalists are the cheapest people. All right? Hawa ni wa cheaper, wa 2,000 umewezana nao. My friend, we can't. Haiwezi. If you are trained in the industry properly and you work for a proper media house, you will afford what you want.
Thank you, Mike, for serving us. Thank you. I need the panelists to respond. I will start with Bwana Mutuku. A lot imetupa kwako. Chairman Chagat amesema atakusaidia na majibu zingine. Parataza nayo utamtupia zake. Okay, microphone please. Turn it.
Testing. The president has given me instructions on the answer. Let me attempt to just help us understand 70% federations, maybe not 30%. If you look at the Kenyan history of sports, we are probably now in the second, third, or in some federations, fourth generation leadership. A lot of people, the way a lot of federations came into formation, it was people getting opportunities, and the first people to get opportunities of sports were the people who were working for parastatals. As you remember, a lot of parastatals gave opportunities for sports people to either be educated or to be employed, and therefore whoever could do sports was employed and got a job, and because we needed some governance structure, went ahead and formed federations. They came up 2 or 3 friends, 2 or 3 colleagues, 2 or 3 workmates, and then they formed a federation. That's how most of our federation came into being. Even up to now, and I can quote examples, and we have Madam Registrar around, we have people, I can give the recent federations which are coming up. You'll find it's 1 or 2 people who love the sport and they go and start putting it together. A lot of individual investments at the beginning, a lot of individual passion and love for the sport. So when people say we have no infrastructure in terms of our federation, that's true. Then came the Sports Act, which was supposed to come and put order in terms of what needed to be done. And there were clear requirements in terms of the existing federations transition and the new ones registrations. And then the requirements within those registrations, which are very clearly stipulated and which are very good in terms of governance of social structure. But what is lacking is the funding behind that formation. Because if somebody wants, and the latest, I'll give an example of Kenya Curling Federation, they come into being. It's one lady who is very passionate about the sport. She has started it, but where does she get the funding to put the infrastructure in place? That's where a lot of challenges are. Of course, we have mature, in quotes, federations like AK, Kenya Rugby, Kenya Volleyball, which have put a lot of infrastructure in place and a lot which are coming. Back to the issue of offices. So that's the background of a lot of the federations. I know there's a lot of work going on because with the new thinking is that we cannot continue doing things the way war is done and expect new results. So that infrastructure of federation formation and running must be changed so that it's modernized, it's funded, so it can be able to deliver for the sportsmen and sportswomen of Kenya. The second one is in terms of offices. A lot of people know, and we have Sir Banajaberi from the Kenya National Sports Council who is very conversant with this matter. A lot of federations had been given offices at Nyayo Stadium. Then Nyayo Stadium was renovated. The bit where a lot of federations were occupying has not been renovated or was not renovated, and therefore a lot of them were asked to move outside the innovation can be taken place. The only good thing to mention, and when we say the CS is doing a good job, it's not just a PR exercise, is to mention that we've had meetings with the cabinet secretary, and with our team, she was able to give instructions to the team so that those federations, she gets an audit of the federations which were there, what floor space they were occupying, so she can be able to give a solution, and we are looking forward to that solution being held. But that's just short term. Going forward, I think, and I think these discussions were a lot within the commercial team yesterday, that there has to be a funding model which can sustain the federations. The National Olympic Committee grants and programs are very specific, and they do not go to addressing issues of infrastructure. I think right now our focus is more of the money going to the athlete than the money going to the infrastructure which is going to be there. So those are some of the things which need to be done. A lot of work need to be done, but we all have to start, and a lot of the challenges. I'll go to the issue of media, because that is an issue we've walked through it. And like Mike says, the same issues with a lot of media people, but we had a lot of meetings with the media people, a lot of people. I'll give a reason why we had a lot of meetings with media people, is because when we came to the office, we were carrying the burden of Rio 2016. So every time National Olympic Committee would be mentioned, they would make reference to Rio
to your
2016.
past office, yeah.
And therefore we met the sports editors and told them, we cannot go carrying the baggage, we need to let the baggage off and move forward. What can we do? They told us, go publicly and apologize. And we went publicly and apologized for the mistakes which had been done previously. And from that point, we were able to move forward. But we also, at these kind of conversations, why don't you carry our issues? We were told, you are sending it late, this is not newsworthy, and all that. So we learned in the process what is newsworthy, what time, like nowadays I can tell you what time we need to send a release. There's a certain time, if it passes, you either know it's not or you send. But going forward, we also, with the assistance of the media people, formed our media team, and that's what now is relevant to this particular forum, because with our media team, we are starting to give women in sport a voice and opportunity to be heard. We all know that social media is extremely strong. So what we've done through Tokyo, road to Tokyo, our media team was able to go to very many of the sports people and athletes and listen to their stories, promote them on the social media. We were able to train them in terms of how they can take advantage of the social media, and a lot of them have taken advantage, and I'm still challenging the ones who are here to still take advantage. The first people who should follow you, should like your page, are the people seated here. So we must follow the pages of our athletes so that we grow their numbers, so that their values go. We've challenged our sports people that we cannot have one person called a celeb overnight becoming greater than a sports person who has done great things for Kenyans. Is because we are not positioning them. So we've also engaged the media people to train our sports people, and this is a program which will continue happening so that more of our sports people, specifically women, are trained to be given that opportunity. So our media people, it's available. And I want to demonstrate, because the inclusivity is not just for women alone. Okay. But I think Agnes will confirm that this year, because we noticed para sports, we are not getting that coverage. The media people went and they are able to give at least a platform for the para sports. Okay. And William? From Deaf Olympics, we are going there next year.
So you're next, William. Happy? Very quickly, because I need Joanne to say something, Agnes, because we're going to take a break. All right. Because we shall continue this conversation after tea, which is more specifically about media and how it pertains na mambo ya athletics or sports for that matter. So, Miriam.
Yeah, just like you've had, when you're not on the table, then you're on the menu.
True.
So for the sports for the deaf people, I've had the interactions about media and the trainings, and also the training for the stadium costs, the Sports Act. So if I can just touch on the Sports Act, it has been a great challenge to deaf sports. The reason why I'm saying this is because this Sports Act is trying to equalize deaf sports with the hearing sports, which cannot happen. It cannot. The formation of federations needs to be the same and similar, because you need to consider the number of deaf people in the country. The number of sports of deaf people who are participating is different from the hearing people who are participating in their federations, because it says that you need to have this specific number before elections, but for us as deaf people, it's very hard, because for all deaf sports to be formulated, you need to have 24 deaf sports in this county, you need to have this and the other. These requirements cannot be achieved because we have less number of deaf persons within the country as compared to the hearing people, so for them to participate fully and equally. So what I feel that it's important to review this Sports Act, and also to have a clause that talks about disability as a guidelines on how the disability sports can be formulated, because right now we are stuck with the Sports Act. Some people are even being forced to form a sports which at the end you do not have any athletes. So how will that help this country? So what I'm requesting also, NOC, you need to look at how you can include the deaf sports within your program and within your structures. Why? Because you're saying that you want us to be in the menu. We want to be in the table because you're always left outside hanging. All the deaf sports committee are looking at what? They look at the visible disability, which is mostly Paralympics. Paralympics are represented everywhere, but what about us as Deaflympics? We're not represented, so we need to be on the table and not on the menu. President, tafadhali, we need to see how we can be on the table and be on the negotiating table, and this needs to align to your documentations. And when we talk about training, I've heard about a person saying that we pay for the stadium. Can you imagine a person with disability when we want to go and train in these stadiums and they tell us to pay 50,000 or 100,000? Where are we getting this funding from? Some of them even we don't, and sometimes yes, we do have sponsors, which is Safaricom, and we're grateful, and they really support us, but we tell them that we need 100,000 to hire a stadium. It is very expensive for them. So what we need to be done is that we need to have the space environment more accessible to persons with disabilities, which is going to be at an affordable cost. Because if we pay, it's fine. Let us pay affordable, because 50,000 compared to 10,000, 10,000 is affordable. Thank you.
Joanne, your thoughts have been said.
Let me start with Mike. I have a proposal, I think, I'm supposed to receive a proposal from Baisi for a project. So let me throw it back to you. If Astra can tell me what they're going to do to profile the women's sports and women athletes to be at par level with the men, then I'll fund that any day. So if we can improve that and make sure that women are getting the same coverage as men, then we can do that. I think the second aspect that we all need to look at sport, we look at sports in terms of recreation, but we never look at it in terms of a business.
Oh, wow. Yeah, powerful.
Because at the end of the day, this
is
a business. The stadiums, they need to be maintained. So is the whole eco-structure informed about what needs to be done? Why are you paying this fee? And if I'm paying this fee, then I expect the facilities to be maintained. I expect to have whatever I need for training, then I expect it to be there. And in terms, if you're playing for a club, do you talk to them so that they subsidize your training? Because I will not be playing for you, then you just call me up when it suits. So we need to find a way that we make sure that the ecosystem is actually functioning to the same way a business does. If I'm paying money, what am I getting for that 200 that I'm paying? So that I sit and I know. And at the end of the day, make sure that if this is someone who's actually playing for the national team, do we get to a point where we subsidize this to a cost that is actually affordable? Because I'm sure even the athletes know that the grounds need to be maintained. What they're actually, like she said, is can it be affordable? Can it be something that I can maintain? Can it be, if it's 10,000, can I afford to pay this throughout the year, vis-a-vis you asking me for 50,000 2 or 3 times? So we need to look at this in terms of a long-term business. Can whoever, I think it's sports, who maintains the stadiums?
Sports Kenya.
Sports Kenya. So I think they also need to be part of the conversation so that the athletes understand, why are we paying for this? You're paying for, Toyoyo is not the same as Kasarani. So the fee is going to be different. And they also need to understand that. So the same, everyone needs, so that we're not talking about discrimination when it's not there. In terms of media, I've gone to events, and we work with AK very well. I've gone to events where we will do the presser, we are left eating, everyone is eating. You give the journalist the presser, and you're off. The journalist can see you eating. And we've done those, where you go to a press conference, you're in a hotel, the people who are there, they eat. You don't even sit and think about basic needs. Like, this person is watching you eat. You don't even factor in that factoring in even food, leave alone even, treat them the same way you would expect to be treated, and it goes a long way. Wow. It goes a long way, because they will reciprocate. So you don't call me to a hotel, give me a sheet of paper, cover me, when you didn't even bother to ask me, have a cup of coffee. And I can see you having a cup of coffee. Let's make it work. It's not a relationship that is going to exist or work and be mutually beneficial if you're not working together. So the same way you would expect them to treat you, treat them the same way. Give them the respect, give them the dignity that they deserve, and it goes a long way.
Absolutely. Yep. Agnes, Maurizius.
Okay, maybe I would want to say, and maybe Paralympics, Kenya National Paralympic, we have an office in Nyayo Stadium. As much as it was being renovated, we were given that office back to us, and we operate from there. And then maybe on the issue of media, I would also want to thank the president and the SG for actually working hand in hand. I think they saw there was need for media to actually come in and create awareness in sports for persons with disability. When we were doing our trials last week, actually we worked very close with them, and they helped me even in registration of online registration. They said, how do we get these athletes knowing that this event works? Yes. We had a meeting with them. We came up with online registration whereby it worked, and we had more than 300 athletes participating in Paralympic, something that has never happened. So I also thank them for that, for coming in, and so seeing that need that was there. I think it's very important. And also maybe to tell my fellow Deaflympics, for Paralympics, we normally don't pay because of the Nini tax exemption that was introduced. We normally talk to them, and it's waived. Anytime we have an event in either Nyayo or Kasarani, we don't pay. And also when we are having our athletes training in both stadiums, we don't pay because the fee is normally waived for us.
I see. Okay. Before we wind up, we're going to take a tea break. When we come back, we're going to just delve a bit more into Mambo ya Media and how that works. I'm going to also include any more questions pertaining to what ambao umefeel haikuzungumziwa sana. But I like how this conversation is heading to, because it's more coming from the athletes themselves than what ambaye inasemekana kweli mambo ni kwamba, not, especially if you're not in the nitty-gritty of sports, you can't understand. Kuna swali ya Miriam. This one is for you, Miriam. I'm told to ask why the medals for Deaflympics and or Paralympics championships are never paid for, and for the able-bodied are always paid for. And then secondly, I don't know what that, secondly, munawaandika athletes wengi sana ambayo wanajiweza kazi, lakini wale kama sisi Deaflympics ama Paralympics hamuwapati kazi. So you can answer that now or after the break. Okay. After the break, all right? So when you come back, we shall continue with this discussion and more. Thank you very much. Tuwapigia wa panelists makofi tafadhali. Na pia tafadhali wapigia wale ambao wameuliza maswali hapa. Wale wameuliza maswali, thank you. It is a conversation you must have. Yes, hold on.
Miriam is saying as a panelist, you don't clap for her with your hands together.
Oh,
but,
yes. Okay, we take a break, coffee break, and then tukirudi we continue. Asante. Over to you, Chacha. Okay.
All right, let's take a short break. We'll be having tea right outside here. Then we'll be right back after the break.
So you're very comfortable with this. You've done this before, right?
I've been in sports for a while, so I get the funding issues from every country that we're in.
But you do realize you can actually, let me put this off.
Don't forget, as you have your breakfast, we'll have a beautiful performance by amazingly talented Crystal Asige.
nikikuchunguza, nimeshinda nikinyamaza, nimevumilia long enough, nimechoka kukusukuma. Mwanzo penzi maua, doa zikaanza tokea, hadharani eti wajita simba, kumbe kati yetu wewe ndokia. Kizi ni watu wazima, kuvutana si wazima, wana haya shuka, wai. If you want to stay, play your role. If you want to go, you can go. Give it to your straight, no chaser. Give it to your straight, no chaser. Nakubembelezwa. Give it to you straight, no chaser. Dezo wansema wote, hadi zako nshasikia zote, ila akili yako we iko kote, takayo yote hupoteza yote. Ndoto ya kawaida yako, hawezi fanya kazi zako, tayari nshapigia uko kwako, wakutayarishie chumba lako. Sisi ni watu wazima, kuvutana si lazima, ona haya panda shuka, wai. If you want to stay, play your role. If you want to go, you can go. Give it to your straight, no chaser. Give it to your straight, no chaser. Nakupendezwa. Thank you. Wale ambao wanataka kushikisha kiuno, this is your time. Si lazima unipatie dhahabu za dunia, just wanna hear you dance. I just wanna hear you dance. I just wanna hear you dance. Yeah. I just wanna hear you dance. I just want to hear you dance. I just want to hear you dance. Yeah. Si lazima unipatie wale la dancing. Radio kaseti wimbo pendwa nitisha wa mwili. Sitakudharau sababu wewe kwangu jirani. Na uko hapa, tunaomba tushereke pamoja. Kitu kizuri twajiuza, wacha niseme tena. Kitu kizuri twajiuza, cheza unavyopenda. I just wanna see you, I just wanna hear you dance. I just wanna hear you dance, yeah. I just wanna hear you dance. I just wanna hear you dance. I just wanna hear you dance, yeah. Tatu matata, una unachoweza fanya. Sasa ni saa kuburudika, sisi hatuna matata. Let's take it down, let's take it down. Let's take it down, 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 down. I just wanna see you, I just wanna see you, I just wanna see you. Yeah, I just wanna see you, I just wanna see you, I just wanna see you. I just wanna see you dance. 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 Dance with somebody. I wanna feel right here with somebody. Oh, I wanna dance with somebody. Somebody who loves me, yeah. Oh, I wanna dance with somebody. I wanna feel that heat with somebody. Yeah, I wanna dance with somebody. Somebody who loves me. Oh, I wanna dance with somebody. I wanna feel that heat with somebody. Yeah, I wanna dance with somebody. With somebody who loves me. I just wanna see you dance. I just wanna see you dance. I just wanna see you dance. Yeah, I just wanna see you dance. I just wanna see you dance. I just wanna see you dance. Yeah. vizuizi lenga, nikuja kuelewa uwezi jipima kando ya wengine. Endelea, endelea, sio nina bado natembea. Mja hunena Mungu anamtenda, hapo mindo na lenga. Usiyafikirie tena, sepe tata, sepe Every saint they have a past, and every sinner has a chance. Look at how far we have come. Without far back they tried to start us. The night is dark, a twinkle twinkle light, a shooting star. Make sure you give them all the show. Can't keep their eyes off your glow. Leave them to make them out. Don't let them wonder who you are. Light it up, twinkle twinkle your shooting star. Why continue to cry when I can speak? Why continue to grow when I have peace? Nuru ya nyota, nuru ya nyota. Why continue to follow when I can lead? Why continue to ignore when I can see? Nuru ya nyota, nuru ya nyota. Almost lost my beat. I came close to losing all me. What existence but the mode of me. Another kind like mine you find cannot make me quite like this. Some pages turn, no matter how much it might hurt others burn. We're better together than we are alone. Come outside and touch the sky. Night is young and time is old. Every saint they have a past, and every sinner has a chance. Look at how far we have come. Without far back they tried to start us. The night is dark, twinkle twinkle your shooting star. Sure you give them all the show. Can't keep their eyes off your glow. Leave them to make a mark. Don't let them wonder who you are. Light it up, twinkle twinkle your shooting star. I continue to follow and I can see. I continue to ignore and lose my sleep. Nuru ya nyota, nuru ya nyota. When we're starry-eyed, our hearts alive, the darkness disappears into our light. Don't let them point right to the air. Let them point and let them stare. After all, it's something rare. Almost lost my beat. I came close to losing all me. What existence but the mode of me. Another kind like mine you'll find. Yeah, now they make right like this. Some pages turn. No matter how much it might hurt others burn.
Thank you. Hope you're enjoying your tea break. This will be a song that I hope you know by now, so you can sing along.
Scary when I get too loud. Silence when I try to speak out. Suggestive when I choose to smile. Sensitive when I choose to cry. Try to tell me this, you're in a mood. Correction, I am a mood. Miseducated, this mess is amazing. You keep me say get used to me. Make it for me. We see how we why you honesty, I'm not you are. Told I shouldn't argue, but my spirit fights. Told I shouldn't drive, now I'm flawed. Told I'd never work again, forget all I've done. Told I should sit down, so I'll take my phone. Told people like me don't stand, but we're twice as tall. We work twice as hard to get others far. You didn't make me great, it was the other way around. Try to tell me this, you're in a mood. Correction, I am a mooder. Been miseducated, this mess is amazing. You keep me say get used to me. Make it for me. We see how we why did you honesty? I'm get used to me. Make it room for me. We see how we why did you honesty? I'm get you Scary when I get too loud. Silence when I try speak out. Suggestive when I choose to smile. Sensitive when I
Want to. Okay, let's get back into the auditorium please. Nataka turudi katika ukumbi. Tuweze kuendelea na conference yetu tafadhali. Thank you. Let's make our way back into the auditorium so we can continue with the conference. We have a lot to do. We have another panel discussion and then a breakout session. So tafadhali, ushers if you can. Ushers, please escort our erstwhile guests back into the auditorium. Ushers, please.
Imekuwa nzuri sana. Enda basi.
Mikey over. Ushers, please usher our erstwhile guests back into the auditorium. Tafadhali turudi katika ukumbi. Let's get back into the auditorium so we can continue. We have a lot of work to do. A lot of work. Chairman, asante. Well done. You captured everything she said. And that was deliberate.
Scary when I get too loud. Silence when I try speak out.
Okay, let's get back into the auditorium. Let's get back into the auditorium, please. Coach ambao anazungumza 16 languages. Tafadhali. Please, let's get back into the auditorium. Thank you very much.
Told I couldn't run, so now I fly. Told I shouldn't argue, but my spirit fight. Told I couldn't drive, now I'm flown. I am a mudo. You baby's educated. This place is amazing. You keep me saying. Ninajijua. 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 When I Mr. I am a mudo. You be miseducated. This place is amazing. You keep me saying. Ninajijua. Ninajijua. Ninajijua.
it on? Yeah, it is. It is. Okay. Let's settle down. Let's settle down. Let's settle down. Hope you enjoyed your tea this morning. Yeah? Muko sawa? Are we okay? Hands up if you're not okay. Okay, so hii session itakuwa short sana. Manake nataka mkule lunch mapema because breakout sessions za leo ni muhimu sana. Zinataka mfocus na spend a lot of time nazo, okay? So bado tuko katika ile topic ya media relations and how it affects corporate sponsorship katika sports. Na tumeanza kusikia, let's settle down, guys, let's settle down. Coach wa volleyball. To settle down, Madam Wakili, to settle. Ukinyusi niwache, wazi, okay. Okay. So we've seen the effects of what many wanasema ni partial media coverage, when it comes to women in sports and the effects of that. And then you realize ya kwamba hizi vitu ndogo ndogo ambazo tumezungumzia, access to sports infrastructure, access to appropriate or better or adequate media cover, all those things have an effect on gender-based violence in sports. It makes somebody vulnerable because uko desperate, hauna do, lakini unaona mimi naweza kuwa champion, lakini huyu jamaa hataki niingie hapa, hataki nipatie access and so on and so forth. So all these small things must bring us back to our discussion at a conference, which is how do we stop gender-based violence in sports? How do we stop discrimination katika sports? Yeah? How do we start? Where do we start? Okay? And you realize these small things, they may seem small. Kama media hakupati coverage poa, and unasikia kumbe kuna brown envelope, so nikipati jamaa bahasha atani-cover more. You see what I mean? Zote ziko na connection. So I really want us to get back into that. But first, tumpige bwana James Kahonge makofi. James Kahonge is a General Manager, Mail Services katika Postal Corporation of Kenya. Karibu sana Jemo. Thank you. Yeah. So James will touch on media relations and corporate sponsorship katika sports. In brief, you were here to discuss earlier. You umesikia sentiments out, but just bring us into light in terms of how those two parameters come together to better sports and the sports person or not.
Thank you, Jimmy. Good afternoon, everybody. As Jimmy has told you, I'm from Postal Corporation. Now, in terms of the topic that Jimmy is talking about, what I will dwell in is what we do at Postal Corporation. You know, one, we are the biggest corporation that churns out all these athletes, because apart from the armed forces and
yes, yeah.
I mean, I don't think there's any other corporation, Jimmy, that churns out athletes, and this is from time immemorial.
Right.
You can even remember the advertisement of the Masai running. That was
yes, exactly.
That's a fast athlete.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, that's a fast athlete. So yes, in terms even of our recruitment, at the moment now in the corporation, I think it's on a 60 to 40%. The ladies are actually more.
60% ladies, 40% women.
Yeah, 40% men. So it means even in sports, the people we take out, because we're in the most of the disciplines, we're in athletics, we're in golf, we're in football, both male and female, we're in volleyball. And so in terms of how we churn them out, basically the ladies are coming out more in these sports. And what we're learning is, because obviously we have domesticated the Sexual Offences Act, the Employment Act, because now it needs to be domesticated to the postal level, where we have a postal code on some of these things, because you'll tend to see that when the ladies go out, I mean, like now there was a topic that was being discussed in the morning where you have a team that is being managed by a different gender.
Yes.
So, and I remember some of those things used to come up, because when you go into the changing room and you want to talk to your team during halftime, how do you do this if... So for us, we've gone forward, and this has been really improved, because I can tell you for the ladies team, they're usually managed by the ladies. So that has really improved. And in terms of sponsoring them, like now when they're going out, because you see they go and represent the country, because when they go and do the chair,
not just a corporation.
yeah, they go and, apart from representing the corporation, they go and represent the country, and they might be out for like, say, a period of 2 to 3 months. And obviously in the workplace, you'll find out that, oh, this job has not been done and everything.
Because he's, oh wow.
Because he's out.
Happens?
So obviously there are policies onto that, because you have all these issues that will come up with the union, that, there are some people who are being favored and all that.
Right.
Over the years, we've been able to improve on that in terms of engaging them and letting them see the bigger picture, that they're actually representing the country, not ideally even the corporation.
I see.
So, and it's the value you get from them. Like, there's this, when we're doing the championships, the under-19s that were just concluded at Kasarani, we had one of our employees who was a winner on that. But you see, it's Kenya that comes out, and that is what you need to show, because obviously internally they will be like, oh, that one is shining more and everything. But getting specifically to the ladies, yes, as you've said, the procurement, our internal employment policy, it's more skewed to the ladies. So obviously you have more ladies even in the management. Whenever you're making this, let's say, what do you call it? Not acts, but regulations.
Right. So
there is more ladies representation in them because they understand it.
I see.
Better. Yeah.
And by the way, like I said, kama tu ile asubuhi, we're having a conversation. So feel free to interrupt or to ask a question kama uko nayo in terms of what Bwana Kaonge is talking about. I'm very. I want to hone in on the bit about employment and how to maintain somebody's income and job security when they're out working, represent both corporation, post corporation na pia the country at large. Because kama kuna ule amesema kwamba kuna wakati ambapo ile pesa niko nayo ni ya kulipa stadium kuna kufanya tizi lakini sina ya chakula. Kuna wale ambao hawana hiyo pesa. So in terms of job security,
yes,
just expound on that in terms of, or give us details in terms of what sort of structures did you put in place to ensure ya kwamba hata kama kazi yake hayuko kuifanya manake na represent corporation na nchi, how do you secure that person's job security vis-a-vis what you've said? Kuna wanaitwaje unions ambao wanasema hapana, huyu mtu pengine katika union yetu biko favored or whatever the ramifications may be. Yes.
Okay. So starting, mnakumbuka sisi ni corporation.
Yes.
Obviously we are under the government.
Yes.
Ukikuja kuemployiwa bado serikali iko na ile permanent and pensionable.
Yes.
Okay.
Brilliant. Yes.
It's brilliant. That in terms of government,
best working for government.
Yeah, it actually protects you very much. Secondly, by the time unakuja unajua una indicate zile skills uko nazo.
Yes.
Nini kama wewe ni mkimbiaji na nini, and that is taken into consideration, because remember, even not at the corporation level, at the schools level, remember there are certain schools like rugby schools that when you're entering, if you say you do rugby, you get
that's put up there.
You just put up there in that. It's the same following that when you're given to that when you're coming in, that will be followed. Again, there is a structure, a human resource structure. I think we have like 10 different grades where you enter from. And if a specific grade, let's say grade 10 or grade 11, is after 3 years, there's a promotion, that is standard for all. Whether you are a footballer, whether you're an athletics person, because it comes in as all. Because
does it determine your level of promotion? And what comes with that? Because you also mentioned corporate sponsorship. What does that mean? So if somebody is good at athletics or basketball,
yes,
or whatever sporting discipline ambayo yuko, and you say that it elevates you to a certain, I'm assuming, perks or benefits for that.
Correct.
So what are these benefits that ambayo itafanya huyu mtu aendelee could represent both the corporation and the country in sporting activities, plus as a coach wa volleyball alisema, mtu akiretire huwa bado kuna ile expertise ya ku-impart your knowledge to the next generation.
Okay.
Does postal cooperation also advance that?
Yes, it does, in terms of you know the spread of the corporation. We are basically everywhere. So being again in government, tuseme mtu mmoja anafanya hapa, tuko Diani, na mwingine anafanya, the farthest point here is what? As you're going to TZ, I mean, there are places that are considered hardship areas.
Yes.
In government, there is a structure that if you're in a hardship area, there is a certain bit of an allowance you get because you're in a hardship area. I'll tell you, for example, for a person who works, because we have a post office in the UN, inside the UN, wewe kupata chakula ya 200-300 hiyo ni ngumu. Tuambia ni kweli, hiyo ni ngumu. So ama at the airport, hiyo ni ngumu. Na uwezi kuwa ukitoka unaenda. So there are certain benefits that come with the areas that you work with.
Okay.
And also now because of sports, because sasa tukikutuma utembee uende Geneva, wewe tuliambiwa wewe ni mtu wa ile ile class. Sasa kama anataka kununua kiatu kama yako, kama vile kama vile Michael Kinyia alisema, I mean, if you're working well and you're working for a corporation, you can be able to afford. And we want you to do that, because remember, when you're out there, first of all, you're representing what? Posta.
Yes.
Secondly, you're representing the country.
Yes.
So lazima tukuweke vizuri.
Well done. Well done. Any questions so far? Kuna swali yote? Yes, I can't see. Yes, oh, the coach who speaks 16 languages. Smama. Moshe Mike Rama. Is it on? Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. I stand here to stand when you say postal is under the government and it comes to pension. I've seen most of the athletes, when they represent the corporation, after corporation, they represent a country, they receive a lot of difficulties. Each year, you can be told because you are not working in the office, you need to quit and go and run for the country. And it has happened. And I hear that say, when you are working with the corporation, you are still required to run for the country. And when you come to the office, you face a lot of obstacles. That is the question I'm pointing you, and I've seen most of the athletes when they were running, like Kenya Power and Lighting, Kenya Posta, as you are there, they face a lot of challenges until they resign. And it has worked, and I've seen most of the athletes resigning. Even right now, you can see even those working in Kenya Power and Lighting
resigning because they've been told of a better prospects outside the corporation or the company.
Yes, and that is why you see most of the Kenya Power and Lighting, they are being deployed to work even to make the poles on the ground, and they were talented before. So maybe you can answer me that, because I have experience in that.
Okay, microphone palette for that. Oh, many, yes. Let's start with this gentleman here, then we move up to,
Good afternoon. My name is Patrick Ngeri.
Patrick,
from Postal Corporation of Kenya. Wanted through our GM, I'd like to respond to what the coach has said.
Okay.
As a policy for us in our code of conduct, first of all, matters promotion, what you were asking.
Yes.
It talks about even staff being upgraded to their next level based on their performance and excellence in sports, whether it is a man or a woman.
Correct.
And second, we even use former members of staff as coaches even when they retire.
What?
Because they will impact the same knowledge to other members of staff. And 3, members of staff are allowed, even in their own personal capacity, to represent even their associations and the sports that they play outside the corporation. Because I can tell you there is one of our
and their
members
job
of,
is secure.
Yes, there is a member of staff who is here in her capacity as a basketballer. Natalie, where are you? In her capacity as a basketballer, not as a member of staff.
Wow, well done.
And she will go back to the office.
Well done.
And you will find her there working, and nobody will question that
is that her?
Yes.
Natalie, wow, well done. Okay, good to see. Okay.
And nobody will question the fact that they are participating in sports. So I think as the different stakeholders and even corporations and government arms, these are the things that need to be...
We can hear you, we can hear you.
Oh. These are the things that need to be inculcated even in your documents of work, in your regulations as a ministry. Do you force these federations to inculcate these things in their regulations before you recognize them as federations or unions representing the different disciplines?
Wow.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you. The lady behind there, yes. Akona mic. Patia, coach, your mic here. Thanks, Patrick. That was, you see, this. I need you to listen to remember what Patrick has said, because if you make it easier for somebody to excel, you make it difficult for them to become desperate and difficult for them to become vulnerable and lessen gender-based violence in sports. Speak.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon.
My name is Dr. Rose Tatamuya, the retired
Rose Tatamuya! I am the biggest fan, sorry.
Based on parastatals, I was working with the Kenya Ports Authority, and I was employed as a clerk. Because you cannot be employed as an athlete throughout of your life.
Right, of course, yes, correct.
We say that education, 80%, sports, 20%. 10% is for your social life. Because in case you get injured in sports and you are not educated, where are you going? If you get injured in sports, you go back to work and you perform your duties as a clerk. I performed there for the last of 10 years, and then immediately, because of my performance, we went the Olympic with the late Peter Wekesa, 1988. When I came back because of my performance, I was promoted from clerk up to sport officer, Kenya Ports Authority. And I was given authority to go and employ sportmen and women. What? I remember I faced I spoke to the late President Moi, rest in peace. And all parastatals, they were given 100 sportmen and women to be employed. And that is why when we came to Kikoso, we were strong enough. And even we competed until we beat armed forces.
Wow.
It was because of our leadership. So, recruiting people in parastatal, they have their own policy to employ people and how they are going to perform in sports. You cannot be employed only sports, because there is two things. Either you lose in sports, go home, or you lose in sports, come to be and work in the office. Otherwise, that is the policy.
Wow. Thank you, and I like that point you have raised, Jimmy, is as government, there is support for sports, because like now in the ministry, we have Ministry of Transport, Ministry of ICT, all the parastatals under that, they form Kekoso.
Right.
The Kekoso Games, where all these parastatals go and meet in all the disciplines, and that is where even I think the North people come and get the national teams from. So it's built up from there. We go for national sports, all the parastatals against each other. A league is formed, a tire league is formed, and as she's saying, KPA will compete against Posta will compete against KQ, and all that, in all the disciplines, in football, in golf,
basketball,
and it's a 3 to 4 week event for this. So it's, in terms of government supporting this, there is really, it's entrenched.
I'm interested, James, in this. What are the percentages in terms of gender-based violence, in terms of a reduction or an increase? Can you tell us statistically in terms of what you've done to improve sports, to improve the discipline, to improve the athletes themselves in terms of their benefits, in terms of their work or job security. Tell us how that has affected, if at all, gender-based violence in sports in post-war corporation of Kenya.
Okay.
And then secondly, what specific things did you do, if at all, in terms of strict codes or rules or policies within the corporation that specifically target gender-based violence in sports in corporation? Or would you say it is just because of how you have handled sports over the years, respected sports and the athletes themselves, that has then created that sort of culture? Not specific rules, but it's a culture that watu ambaye ni wanariadha ni watu wa kuheshimiwa, ni watu wa kutuzwa, ni watu wa kuwa encouraged, kujengwa to greater heights.
Okay, thank you. I will start with your last point. Yes, the culture is there, it's inculcated. Watu wa sports wanakuwa respected sana pale kwa ofisi. I mean, they are held in very high esteem because it's free branding for us.
It's free branding.
Yeah, it's free branding for us. When you have that athlete wearing your poster shirt, it's free branding for us in terms of that.
So you have to pay it back.
You have to pay it back by that recognition. And what the good lady has mentioned in a speech, yes, if you come back and you've done the country proud, just like the armed forces, and what happens there, you get upgraded to a different level, because what you have done is very much commendable, and it's part of the policies in human resource that you can excel in your work, but if you also excel in the extracurricular activities that you're doing, you can also be able to be upgraded. Now, in terms of bringing down the gender violence in this, whenever these sports are done, like now I'll talk about Kekoso, during we usually have in the evenings or during the tea breaks, we usually have what you call like a GMT. Like now I'll have my team.
Yes.
We'll go and sit down. Tunasema simu zote na nini watu weke kando, tuongee, watu wafungue roho. Yes. Juu unaweza sema boss unanikaliaga ngumu sana kikazi ama kinini. I mean, just a session of talking, and it doesn't, I mean, it's never necessarily about work, because some of these things, they even come from home.
Yes,
unaweza kukileta stress yako kutoka nyumbani, kutoka nyumbani unaileta hapa. So tunasema tunakaa tunajadiliana, and I think in a month we usually do it 1 hour a month. People sit down, you have TTs prepared, snacks, mnakaa chini, mnafunga, mnasema tunaongea, and it's anything, because mtu anaweza ongea hivi na mwingine aseme ana relate nayo, aseme ala pia mimi hiyo ina happen.
So are you saying hakuna, have you had any I'm just saying, have you had any in your discussions mtu ambaye amesema kuna coach ananikanyagia,
obviously
anataka nifanye vitu fulani, and if that, and how did you sort that out? Was it
no you see, it's amesema ananikanyagia, so there's I wouldn't
ananidhulumu, let's just say ananidhulumu.
You wouldn't call it you form a disciplinary committee first of all, and it's not an investigation committee. Kwanza mnakuwa na watu kwa subcommittee ambao wanachunguza the allegations, because those are taken very seriously. Sexual offense is actually taken very seriously in the corporation. So there is a department in welfare that
deals with that
across the board. Okay, iwe wewe ni GM ama wewe ndio mdosi ama iwe wewe ni, because kudhulumiwa pia inaweza kuwa
kabisa
inaweza kuwa pia the other way. So there is a section in that, and because we know the regions, the 10 regions, as how the country was divided then, they are there within the regions to be able to sort out that. Then there is a national one, which obviously if you're looking at issues that you're not able to solve at the local level, that goes up, I mean, it's forwarded up to the national. Yeah, so that is there.
Sorry? Yes. Olaba, yes.
Yeah, mine.
Smart.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
My name is Master. I'm a master of all. Mine is just a concern on our friend there about the Posta Corporation. Posta Corporation used to be one of the leading employees of sportsmen and women, and especially on women, because we used to have netball team, which was very strong. We used to have athletes like Joyce, the likes of Kavaya. They were all from post office. But of late, I don't know what went wrong. Maybe you can tell us where it started raining on you people, that you sidelined all this. We don't hear of netball in post office. We don't hear of those great athletes in track and field. So it is a concern to us women, because women development starts from sporting. And even during that time, Posta was very strong, and you had a lot of publicity. Now, where did it start raining on you people? That you stopped employing, you stopped developing, and it is as if, you know, our left arm is now dead. We are trying to raise the right one, which is also dying slowly. Please.
All right. Patrick, you want to do this, or I give it to James? James?
Okay, thank you.
Utaongezea. Patrick.
Okay. Madam Master, habari yako? Let me clarify. Posta has not stopped employing. Bado tunaendelea kuandika. Posta haijaacha kutoa the great ladies that are there in the sports. It's just what was being talked about in the morning. Media. Kama Michael Kini ya kuji kuchukua hiyo video na iweke kwa news na aseme huyu ni wa Posta, wewe hautasikia, so hautajua. So it is what we were talking about just in the morning. When media needs, we need to put more of this. But again, from the talk in the morning, yes, we learned that if we don't give the media the briefs on this, because hapo pia sisi tunafaiwa kuitikia kuna makosa. There is a very good PR department in our place, and it's part of the feedback I'm going to give to them. Good. Because media wamesema si ati hawezi ongea, but kama hatuwapatii content, they will not. They don't have anything to talk about. So yes, madam, I've taken that challenge. Content tutapatiana wako na bado tunaendelea kuandikana. Asante.
Okay. Yes. Jukosa kwa mwenye mkono juu tazama coach, alafu huyu madam, alafu jamaa. Yeah? And then lastly, yes. I'll finish it. Thanks, Miriam.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. That was a very good presentation, but like my colleague,
Master
Elizabeth Olaba, my classmate in athletics coaching those years, said there are better years. When we had Posts and Telecommunication, KPTC, that was the principal supplier of Kenyan sportsmen across the board. KPTC was, of course, the champion organization in the then Kekoso, and they were pace setters. Unfortunately, after the split, Telcom carried on a little bit. Posta virtually stopped. Visibility, my friend, is earned. Okinyi will not come to look for your team in the office. He'll get it out there when it's beating other teams, then he'll talk about the Posta teams. There were the Posta teams like in volleyball. The Posta team were national champions from 1990 to 1999 running. They composed 90% of the Kenya team to the All Africa Games. So I think we need to get those people back there. Now, on the thing that brought us here on gender violence, your corporation could set the pace in getting a policy that protects the employees outside the office. We know there is a labor, there is an office protection, yeah, for, for the workers. But when these workers go out there to participate in sports and recreational activities, in drama and in all these things, there should also be a policy that protects them, an office policy that can follow any infringement. Some of these infringements include very discrete forms of discrimination, very discrete forms of sexual, what we can call intimidation, and blackmail, whereby some people say, you will make that team if you do as I say. These are some of the things we need put down in a policy. And you could help us by spearheading it, and then other people benchmark from you.
There you go. Well.
Now, then the third and last one is recruitment on merit. If you say that Posta is still recruiting sportsmen, then you better follow up with your human resource department. Because if they were recruiting world beaters, we would be hearing them, we would be mentioning them here. Definitely somebody somewhere is taking advantage of opportunities that should be there to develop, to recruit and develop sports people. They are recruiting the wrong path. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
For your
down,
feedback.
Patrick, and so we can respond to them. Yes.
My name's Dude.
You can remove the mask, ma'am. Okay, zungumza tu.
I think you'll hear.
We can't hear you. Towards, yeah, well done. Okay.
My name's Duda Waweru. I'm Vice President, Kenya Volleyball Federation, Gender and Minority. I just want to pick up from what Rose Tata said a while ago. This is about, she talked about the yesteryears.
Yes.
Where some of these corporations, including Posta, or world beaters. She has just said something maybe some of us did not know, because I was in Telcom those days, that she said something to the president and some directive was given that the corporations or the certain entities will employ.
Up to 100, yes.
I believe to date, those entities are still there and they're still employing. We have government entities that employ every year. People are employed. This is the police, the prisons, the army, there are many. So if that which happened the yesteryears, I think they see as the curse is here. Maybe this is something that we need to look at again, that when these entities are employing, they give a quota of that, the recruitment, or 5% to sportsmen and women. So that they can be employed, because as it is, sportsmen and women are out there, they are really struggling and the employment is not there. But when recruitment comes, they are not considered. So we'd like to request the ministry to look at this and see how this can be discussed at that level, so that we can get back to where we were in the yesteryears. Thank you.
Hold on. Miriam? Miriam? So we can see you. Okay.
Thank you so much for the brief discussion, and I've also heard from my colleagues about what Postal Corporation is doing and the achievements. And I want to ask you a question concerning persons with disabilities, because I want to know, have you employed sports and women who have a disability? If none, then I think that now is a good opportunity for you to have that, so that we can even, like you said, it's free branding out there for you. So give us that opportunity, because I've seen an example like Coca-Cola Company and Safaricom, even as much as in the private sector, they give person with disability the same opportunity. So that's my suggestion to you. Open up the doors for us. Thank you.
Yes. And then Mike, I need you to respond. But I can't speak better. Yes, okay. Microphone hapa. Ina mkono mami, ndio tukone. Yeah, she's a volleyball coach actually. I keep forgetting her name.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Thank you.
James.
Yes, the poster representative, thank you for coming and giving us what you are telling us. The presentation is good, I like it. And I just want to say something. I'm a product of KPTC. I played for Kenya Poster, volleyball that is, right away from school. I got my employment until 1997 when there was a split. And we have another product of that team, Janet Amke, she can stand up.
Hey, Jan.
And that is where we nurtured our sport very well. And when I ventured into coaching, I handled the Kenya Poster team, the men team in 2010. I was the head coach of that team. I don't know if you are aware of it. That was your male team, and we went with them to Kikoso. It was in Kisumu, and we emerged the winners. So
you coached the men's team?
Yes.
So imagine.
Yeah, I was the head coach.
That is, I'm going to put a pin in that. That's an important thing. Put a pin on that.
So,
okay.
What I want to advise my brother is that, okay, there was the male volleyball team then, and it is still now the male volleyball team that goes to Kikoso. Why can't we incorporate women so that they can also play and proceed to Kikoso, and maybe we can get international players from the same team. Then number two, like you are saying, we need to have a human relations office whereby you can handle things like mental problems for the athletes. I don't know if you have that in your HR department. That is very key, because maybe we could have problems. You can follow up with the players. And number three, we should continue employing players, because yesterday something came up that is contributing so much on GBV, something called poverty. So girls are being wooed because they don't have this kind of money to support themselves. They are not economically empowered. So as in the corporate world, if you can take up that and employ girls, especially players. The other day we had Postbank is coming up. They had their recruitment for volleyball players. Poster can do the same. Another corporation can do the same. And then we shall fight this gender-based violence, whereby people don't use the fact that this girl does not have something in her pocket to molest them. Thank you so much. And
I need Mike Okinyi to finish this, because I want you guys to go out for lunch at 1. Today we're doing well, so 1 hour lunch, because like I said, the afternoon breakout sessions, mtakuwa busy sana. As you can see, we're getting closer to looking at all these aspects of what exacerbates ambayo inafanya gender-based violence iwe worse, ambayo inaipatia mizizi. And you realize, kwanza poverty, you know, lack of employment. When you see your vision and the person who's standing before your vision and you know, you and your vision is that person you're asking, how do I circumvent this? Nimpatie mwili, nimpatie pesa, nimpatie nini? Na ama ni avoidaje? Okay, so you have a lot of work to do this afternoon katika breakout sessions. Mike Okinyi, in terms of, because media keeps being mentioned, nataka sana about especially being direct women sports, because the assumption is that men get a lot more coverage because they're men, and less women and with disabilities, if you know, like Deaf Olympics or Paralympics, etc., etc. Speak about those. So why the disparities?
It goes back to what goes back to what Jimmy spoke about before the break. It's back to the federations. All right? If the federation serves us more of the men food, that's what we consume. We shall not go demand. If they serve us more of the women food, that's what we eat. All right? But now, that is where the disparity is. Federations focus on the men more than the women. It is a fact. Right? So, I don't know which federation except volleyball that focuses on
both men and women.
No, on the women.
On the women.
Than the men. All right? Volleyball is the other way around.
Yes.
Yeah, there is more
support for women. Yes.
There's more interest on the women game than the men game. Even when they send you fixtures, they tell you this next round will be played in Eldoret, and these are the matches. Women, they give you the schedule. Then the men. Results, you will get the women and demand for the men. Simply because the interest in volleyball is more on the women's side than the men's side. So, solution to all
what
this.
is it? Yes.
Solution
Okay,
to all this, Jimmy, is very simple. First, put your structures in place. We've got a marketing team, we've got a media team, we've got a social media team, you've got every department working like clockwork. The effect is that if you have a media team, all they need to do is liaise with the technical team and know games ziko wapi siku gani. They will do the press release and they will do the results when they are there. The situation we have with so many federations right now is that even the results you're sent, my friend, utajikuna kichwa kwanza. Simply because what I give you, these federations don't know the value of media. I will not lie to you, Jimmy. We are just any other.
They don't know the value of media.
They don't. Simply because if you knew the value of
Yes.
media, you would have a media person.
Yes, true.
doing
That is
stuff
very
for you.
true. Yes.
The
Yes.
press release unatumiwa. I can share some with you, you'll be shocked. That this is happening and we want coverage. All right? It does not have where, when, how, you know? It's just that league fixtures for the weekend. This one versus this one versus this one. End of story. So it's you to now start finding out where are these games being played.
I see.
What's the venue, what's the time, and all that.
Would you say the same about Deaf Olympics and Paralympics? Is that the same thing? Kila mtu, the same
I've
thing?
had a conversation with them when we finished here.
Okay.
And they told me one interesting thing. We invite Citizen TV for our functions, they don't come. I said, oh, so who do you send the invite to? Citizen TV. Who? No, Citizen TV. Then I ask you, okay, give me an email address where you send your stuff. There's no email address where you send. There's no name of a person you send to. Then you sit and say, we don't get coverage.
Okay.
It's not just them, by the way. It cuts across 80% of federations that we have. All right? Even right now, we fight with the FKF Caretaker Committee because they assume football is so big, we know where these games are and what time.
Okay.
All right? So we must put structures in place. If you don't have those structures, borrow from a neighboring federation who have the structures and they will sort you.
And they have been given visibility.
Watakusaidia. It's very simple. If not, if you're an Olympic sport, Kina Francis are here. They will tell you exactly what to do. It's a journey. It's not an overnight thing, Jimmy. You don't wake up tomorrow and you've got all your structures in place and you've got everything in line. You have to start somewhere and you have to build it slowly. By the time you're done one season, second season,